ये थोड़ा कट गया, ऊपर लाना पड़ेगा, करूँगा। लैग हो रहा है थोड़ा, अभी ठीक है लेकिन लैग हो रहा है। सही है ना? थोड़ा सा इधर ज्यादा है, लैग हो रहा है थोड़ा सा। सिग्नल कट गया नहीं, अभी ठीक है, अभी ठीक है। वो लाइव है अभी, कॉपी कर दो, लिंक कॉपी कर दो। क्या आवाज आ रही है? ऑडियो चेक करो, कहाँ पे चेक करना है? स्क्रीन पे।
Event of ex-ops of the Operations Association of the Institute of Management Bhubaneswar. Ashwamedh is a unique industry-focused business school seminar which brings together eminent personalities from a diverse range of backgrounds with an aim to stimulate discussion on contemporary issues related to operations management and related areas. Before we commence with the event, we will have an auspicious lamp lighting ceremony as a tribute to Goddess Saraswati. I would like to invite the honorable speakers and the moderator of the event, Professor Ashwamedh sir, and the professors to light that.
In an era marked by rapid globalization, technological advancements, and unforeseen events, operational disruptions have become an inevitable part of doing business. From supply chain bottlenecks to natural disasters, these disruptions can significantly impact a company's profitability, reputation, and long-term sustainability. To thrive in such a volatile environment, businesses must develop robust strategies to manage and mitigate these challenges. This involves identifying potential risks, developing contingency plans, and leveraging technology to enhance resilience. By proactively addressing operational disruptions, companies can not only protect their bottom line but also uncover new opportunities for growth and innovation. To align to the same thinking and viewpoint, this year we would like our eminent speakers speakers to impart their views on the theme of managing and mitigating operations disruptions and share their thoughts and experiences on the same. We, on the behalf of the whole XIM XUB fraternity, are honored to have our esteemed panel of speakers and delighted to have our faculty members, media partners, and fellow students present with us today. Now, we request our dear speakers to kindly accept our token of appreciation and request Rani to present a token of appreciation to Mr. Shaili Chandan Sir, Director and Vector Consulting Group. Now I request Apurva to present our token of appreciation to Mr. Vinendra Kumar Sir, the Head of Sales and Operations Planning at Dalmia Bharat Group. I would now request Kartavya to present our token of appreciation to Ms. Swati Joshi Ma'am, Senior Program Manager Supply Chain at Amazon. Now I request Region to welcome Mr. Kanti Prakash Brahma Sir, Global Production Controller at XIM. Now I request Abhay to welcome Professor Sambit Ratrat, moderator of the event.
Before we call our guests to share their journeys, I would like to apprise the audience with the flow of the event and some basic hygiene instructions. We will first have our moderator, Professor Sambit Rath Sir, to present an introductory note and comments. Then, we will have our speakers share their experience one by one, and after all the speakers have completed, we will have a panel discussion, post which we will open the floor for the audience to ask questions. We will then have concluding remarks by the moderator, followed by the vote of thanks by the coordinator. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator for the day, Professor Ashwamedh Sir, an accomplished academic and a thought leader in operations management, whose journey spans some of India's most prestigious institutions with a PhD from Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. Professor Sambit has spent over 2 years shaping minds as an assistant professor at XIM Delhi before joining Xavier's Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. His experience also includes pivotal roles in the industry at General Stainless, where they own their expertise in mechanical maintenance. Professor Sambit brings a unique blend of academic rigor and practical insights, making them a beacon of knowledge and inspiration for all aspiring professionals. Sir, we request you to join us on the stage and present your thoughts on the event.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, speakers. So today we are going to have a session on risk mitigation and mainly what are the strategies. Yesterday we celebrated the Ganesh Puja, Ganesh is known for removing all the obstacles in our life. Today we are going to have this session. We will learn from the persons who are doing it on day-to-day basis for the firms like H&M, Amazon and all. So you all are very lucky to have them give their insights about risk mitigation strategies and all. So before we go into it, I would like to tell something about the disruption mitigation strategies. So it is considered, in a loose sense, it is considered as the health insurance of the firms. So it is required, but not all the firms are going to take it. They consider it costly, they consider it is not value for money. But mainly it has been reactive in nature. Once the firms get sick of some external or internal factors, they think about it. Post-COVID, there has been some proactive strategies about it, but still, the data suggests around 1 million USD is lost per incident of the disruption. And all over the world, 80% of the firms face at least one major disruption in a year. So it is better to know about it, to know the strategies to mitigate the disruptions so that in your job life you can do it better. So without taking much time, I would like to invite our speakers to give their insights to all of you. Thank you.
It is my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Shailesh Ranjan, Director at Vector Consulting Group, to our event today. Sir is a proud alumnus of Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar, brings us over 25 years of expertise, operations, supply chain management, and process improvement. With a strong educational foundation from both Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar, and Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, Sir has led transformative initiatives across various industries. At Vector Consulting Group, where he has been for over 17 years, Sir Ranjan specializes in theory of constraint consulting, driving significant operational improvements. Before this, he had worked and gained experience in companies like Wipro, Siemens, and SRF Limited in areas like operations consulting, business process reengineering, process outsourcing and change management, and forex risk management. Prior joining to XIM, he worked as a process manager at Schenectady Herdelia Limited. We are honored to welcome back such a distinguished alumnus whose achievements continue to inspire our community. We look forward to your valuable insights that you will be sharing today. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Shailesh Ranjan sir.
Wow, it's been a really long time since I'm addressing so many people, and that too all so many formals. Everyone, even the panel, I'm the only guy in the formals, so that puts a lot of pressure on me not to talk some consulting bullshit. So let's hope the topic is interesting and you find it. So when I was told that to speak on this topic of marketing disruptions, my first reaction was, "Hey, क्या बकवास topic है यार, मेरे को क्यों पकड़ा दिया है?" So that was my first reaction. But then I was thinking that yeah, disruptions do happen around us, and whatever consulting work we do, our clients also undergo some disruptions at some point. So the question is, how do we, how do our clients handle that, and how do we, let's say, the society at large should handle it? So let's just walk you through. So obviously certain disruptions that we see around, like COVID-1, I think this is a type of disruption that we see, big event and disrupting a lot of things. Similarly, like war that happens around us, hopefully, fortunately not in India, but countries like Ukraine, or crises like what we see in Bangladesh very recently, another type of disruption that we see. And also you would see disruptions like this was one of our one of the companies that we work with, something we are into, they make physical security products, as you can see from the photograph. Anyway, whenever a bank opens, it has to have this physical security products like safes, strong room doors, lockers, otherwise the bank branch will not function, right? Now, this was a company which was very much dependent on these products which were going into the banking sector, something like 70-80% of the revenue. And what happened a couple of years back when Chidambaram was the finance minister, there was a lot of focus on bank branch expansion into the rural and stuff like that. But when the government changed, when BJP came, then I don't know, you must have heard Jan Dhan Yojana and all that stuff. So there was a lot of focus on the government to increase bank accounts rather than opening branches. So what happened was, because of that focus, the branch expansion went for a toss. And this company, which was one of really, they was really enjoying good time and growing very rapidly, crazy margins. They have big slowdown, and they had to shut down the plant and also had to lay off people. So this is another disruption that I can think of. Then there was another company, again one of our clients in the textile and garment space. So this is a company where focused on one customer which is contributing to a big percentage of their sale, and one fine day what happens, this customer becomes jittery or some pricing issue and decides to leave, and this company 30% loss of capacity. I don't know if you understand, but textile industry is very capital intensive, and how to utilize the asset is an important part to maintain profitability. So if this customer leaves and you are not able to fill that capacity to maintain profitability, ultimately land in laying off people. So this is another disruption the company faces. This is one side. Then there are other disruptions like where the graph that I'm showing you, where the customer requirement is fluctuating at a certain percentage, but in the supply chain, the fluctuations are much bigger. That is, it happens especially in environments where the lead times are long and you're trying to forecast over a long horizon, and ultimately something called a bull effect happens. So like in pharma industry, if you understand, especially people who are exporting generic drugs to the US and Europe and all that, but they are all faced with very long lead time when you have any forecast. So any small fluctuation in the supply chain, it really gets amplified. It's called bull effect. I'm sure some of you must have read about it. And because of bull effect, the yo-yo kind of thing, the disruptions happen. So sometimes the plant will slow down, the supply will slow down or shut down, and when the ramp up happens, then suddenly you have to ramp up. So this is another type of disruption that happens in the pharma industry. Also in the auto sector, you must have heard in news very recently, you must be hearing, dealers, especially in passenger car vehicles, almost like 70-75 days of inventory the dealers are carrying, and so all this game of forecast and then trying to push the inventory down the supply chain, and ultimately the inventory up to this level in the dealer's end, and what happens after some time? They will not be in a position to buy fresh stock. So, and that, that choke happens back at the OEMs and then also the suppliers. So, either the plants, they will shut down some of the ships or shut down the plant completely, or same with the suppliers, so completely depend on the OEMs. So, this is another disruption, right? So, if you see, there are different types of disruptions, and are they really the same? So, the different types, right? COVID one and supply chain one, or one something where a company is dependent on some customer or segment. This is another type of disruption that we talked about. Question is, are they same, or how do I handle them? What is the mitigation strategy? Is that the same? That's the question. Okay? Is it making sense till now? Jabasti hamat bolna. Okay, so what I've done is, this is not, this is just I thought maybe you should classify the disruption, and typical consultants will follow some classification also. So just maybe to understand the extent of disruption, and maybe the solution is also maybe very different. So I classified them into three types. The first one that we talked about is, I would call it a black swan event, right? COVID and all, or war or something, is not really predictable and very difficult to know. So I'm calling that a black swan event, and disrupting maybe across the industries and all. The second one I'm calling I've just put a name, mono-client risk trap. Some jargon I have tried to introduce. So basically, all in sectors where you're dependent on one customer segment or dependent on one customer, and if something goes wrong, then the company comes to its knees. So that's another type of disruption I'm calling. Okay. Then the last one that I'm calling is more of internal one. I'm calling self-inflicted. If this is something internal, it's nothing external. And the example that I was talking about, the pharma and the auto, where the bullwhip effect happens, and because of an internal way of supplying material and all that stuff, so that also leads to some disruptions at some point. Then, okay, so that's another third type of disruption I'm talking about. Okay, let's go through each one of them and see how to manage them, how to handle these disruptions. Okay. So let's look at the first one, the Black Swan event one. So question is now, can you predict a Black Swan event? Can you? Yeah. You can only pray it doesn't happen. No one in this world is able to prevent COVID or the 2008 financial crisis. And whatever forecasting tool put in place, but I don't think that it has evolved to a stage where you can predict all these things. So just forget, you won't be able to predict what will happen. So what do you do? How can you mitigate the effect? Any ideas? So the only important thing is when this event happens, what is the most important thing? You should be able to survive. Survival, how you survive during that period, that's the only thing that matters. The rest of the things don't matter at all. Okay? And how will you survive? You know rocket science. All you need is cash reserves. Indeed. So when you are going good, the company has to reserve money for such, for that save for the rainy day, right? That's the thing we keep hearing sometimes, right? It's important for this case. When your going is good, you have to have cash reserves so that when the black swan hits you, at least you're protected. You need to protect your people. You don't go to lay off people. You protect your people and also your suppliers, especially the smaller ones, because they are the ones who need working capital. Because if they go bunk, then finding a new supplier and getting on track is a hell of a time. So you need to protect these guys. And for that you need money. Okay? So this is only one part of it, that how you survive and what you do for the Black Swan event. But there is also another important thing is what you do after the event is over. Right? What's important? Okay, the key thing is when the market opens, your own ability, how you bounce back quickly, that's an important thing so that you can capitalize. Because what happens is after the lockdown, if you remember, obviously people were flocking back, let's say in the retail shows, buying garments or whatever, because they were all locked down for a significant period, so there was huge surge in demand. But how do you capitalize that part? How quickly the company can bounce back and capitalize on the market? That's an important thing. So, like for example, let's say for a distribution company or even a retail company, how do you get the stocks back at the point of sales? How distribution companies will make the stock type of environment where the stocks are where the person or customer going to buy, the stocks have to be available, right? The customer is not going to wait. So for a distribution company, the action is that how do I get the stocks quickly at the selling point, right? Similarly, for a manufacturing company, let's say for a B2B type of a manufacturing company, let's say the physical product company that we talked about, or a textile company, the example that I was talking about some time back. How quickly, obviously, because when the things start opening up, there will be a backup of orders. How do you quickly churn out the backup of orders? So that's important. The speed is important. And one of the enablers I said was, especially in a B2B company where you're dependent on smaller suppliers, because the black swan earnings are not there, you will have to provide some working capital support to the smaller guys. The big guys, maybe they have the financial muscle to handle it, but especially the smaller suppliers, you have to support them. So that's one enabler. But the common enabler between the two companies is basically how we need to put in a system or processes which cut down on internal lead times. So this is something which is lead time to procure, lead time to manufacture, lead time to get the distribution part or logistics part. How quickly can I get the inventory back, or how can I flush out the order? So it's important that during these bad times you work on your process system of your supply chain, so that the lead times are very small, so that you can quickly bounce back. There's nothing else you can't predict. Only you can react fast. That's the important thing. Forget about prediction and spending too much time and energy on forecasting tools and all that. Cut down your internal lead time. When you're back, you quickly turn around and get back to your customers. That's the only thing that will work. Okay? So this is one type of disruption, how we manage this part. And let's look at the other one, the type 2, which we talked about, where the dependency is very high on one segment or a customer. So here, if the segment ends or any customer leaves, as we talked about, how do we manage the restriction? Should we diversify? If you're dependent on one segment customer, diversify. I mean, that's the obvious answer, right? Don't put all the eggs in the same basket. Everyone knows that. Isn't that obvious? But if you look at, if you look at this company, the physical product company that I talked about, that focused on the B2B segment of banks, they are already diversified into the retail. Retail is nothing but when you have smaller sales, the sales that you can keep it in your home or in your shop, for your cash, jewelry, and all that. So they had already, this segment was already working on it. It's not that they are not diversified, they have. Similarly, if you look at the textile company that I talked about, there's one customer contributing to 30% of sales. There are so many other customers who are contributing not to that extent, but to the other 70%. So the question is, are they not diversified? They are diversified. That is not the insight. Everyone, I think most companies know they're dependent on some segment or something. They will have to diversify. They will, but that's not the main insight. Question is, even if they are diversified, so why is their disruption so bad? That's the question. Why is that? The disruption when this customer goes on this segment ends, why is the company not coming back on the feet very quickly? That is the question. Okay, let's see. So where does the problem lie? This is all the diversification. I'll just show you something. So one segment of customer contributes significantly to overall sales, right? So as a result, what happens is a lot of the resources and time is spent on focusing on this customer, right? Because it's an important customer, it's an important segment. A lot of energy, resources are focused on that. As a result, what happens? What happens to the other segment or the other customer? Other segments get neglected because your entire time and energy is focused there. When the other segment of customers get neglected, customer service is affected, what happens? What happens to the growth? The growth will obviously get hampered. If the not service is not all that great, they may grow at a very smaller pace. And this is where the vicious loop starts. So if your growth from the other segment is not so great, then again your dependency on the focus segment is high. And then you're caught in this vicious loop of dependency. You focused on the bigger guys, you neglect the smaller ones, their service is hampered, they are not growing, so they are not growing, so again you focus on the bigger guy, and then you're caught in this loop. And as a result, what happens? When the big segment cracks, bouncing back takes a lot of time. Why? Because the other customer, other segment, focused not there, then you will almost neglected it. You will come back, but it will take a lot of time. Customer who's unhappy, who's not happy with the delivery, maybe open niche hota rehta hai. But if you want to get them back on track, you want to really capitalize or they will increase your share of business with them, it will take a while. It will take a while to prove that you're good and you can supply reliably and all that stuff. It will take time. So what's the way out? The important thing is, if you look at it in the supply chain, all the functions that we're talking about, obviously, customer has different expectations. So even a big to stock, customer expecting availability whenever they go to buy something. Similarly, in case of big to order, we're talking about orders being delivered on time, or or some customers might need the delivery in a shorter lead time, whatever their customers with different expectations. The only thing that will work is you have to put in your process and system in supply chain where we are not giving any special treatment to any customer. Whatever system you put in place, it has to work on autopilot, it has to serve all the customers' expectations. You can't have one special treatment. If the system is on autopilot, it doesn't matter. Just like the Amazon service, except for Amazon Prime. It doesn't matter which customer places an order, the delivery would happen. So I'm talking about not B2C but B2B environment. So the physical security product that I talked about, or the textile one. So you put in, all your supply chain has to take care of all the customer requirement, not really. It's like killing one customer. You don't go one customer to serve other. That's what happens in where there are no system and process in place. You might have seen in shop floor, people are expediting orders from big customers. That is not the way. You have to have something, a process in place where all customers are equal, every customer's expectations are met, on-time delivery in the high 90s, it doesn't matter, big, small, whatever. This is what you do. I'm not going to tell you what is the process system, that's a different session altogether. But important is to see that whatever I put in place has to take care of everyone. It should run on autopilot. Doesn't matter, no special treatment required anywhere in the whole supply chain. And then, if someone tanks, you can get back to the other customers and at least your speed will be better. The speed to ramp up, that will be a little better. Okay? Making sense? Yes. Yeah. Now let's try to look at the third one. I hope I'm getting 10 minutes. Yeah. So let's look at the third segment, which I'm calling self-inflicted. So let's say take the case of pharma generic company. They export to the US. See, the problem in this kind of environment is the lead time to supply is extremely high. It's almost like more than 6 months, something like 2 months of selling time and 4 months of a little bit of procurement and production lead time. So almost, if you place an order today, it will take 6 months to reach the US warehouse, right? So you maintain, so basically all the pharmacies in the US who are ordering generic drugs to these Indian pharma companies, they place the order in the US warehouse and from there the shipment happens. But obviously the Indian company has to ensure the inventory over there. So you can imagine the lead times that are, and to make that function, what happens is they have to forecast because you don't know what the customer is going to lift, right? Exactly what he will lift, and there are multiple SKUs, maybe 400, 500 SKUs. There are different medicines, there are medicines with different packing, there are medicines with different strengths, so variety is explodes. So trying to forecast at an SKU level is extremely difficult. You will not be able to predict, and that for 6 months down the line, very, very difficult. But as a result, what happens? Let's see what I will show you one. I'll show you the bullwhip effect I've been talking about, where a small variation, how does that amplify? I'm going to show you a real data from an Indian pharma company to show you the gravity of the problem. How small variation amplifies and creates a disruption. So this is a graph I'm showing you. It has customer orders, it has this inventory in the US warehouse and the supplies that are coming into the US warehouse. So let's say on the x-axis you have these months running from 1st to 16 months. So let's say a couple of months, and 4-5 months typically there are customer orders, which is seen in the red line, and the supply and stock is in the, I hope you are able to see it. Are you able to see it? Yes. Yeah. So the stock is in the grayish line and supply. So you can say the customer orders, actually during this period, 4-5 months, okay, there is a variation in supply, but not so much compared to the customer order, right? And the stocks are also hovering around that time. Now let's say some Murphy strikes, okay? And this will always happen in supply chain. Not that every time everything will go hunky-dory. And let's say there is a disruption and the supplies are affected for some months. So just have a look. So just the black line that is going down is the supply going get supply is getting affected. Let's say maybe your API supplier is nothing but active pharmaceutical ingredient, the main the chemical that goes into the drug. That's called API. Let's say one of the vendors count off. not able to supply in China, and some lockdown happened, and they're not able to supply. Some disruption. Let's see what is the impact on the others. So when the supply drops, the customer orders are still continuing. Why? Because there is some inventory in the US warehouse and the impact is still not right down. But what happens after some time, when this obviously the inventory is depleting, the customer orders, the backlog gets created, right? Because they're not able to supply the entire quantity, the back orders keep going up. And then the customer, obviously once the supplies are going down, the customer orders start tapering down because if the pharmacy in the US is not going to wait for the Indian company, they're buying from others also, the same medicine. They'll have to switch the supplier so that his customers are not impacted. But what happens is by that time, the supply is resumed. Because whatever the disruption was, the supply will come back, not the supply won't come back at all. It will come back after a lag. But see what happens. But when the supply comes back, the stock is going up, right? And what happens to the inventory? The supply comes back, but the inventory has shot up. Why? Because the customer orders now have tapered down, and it takes a lot of time for the customer orders to pick up. But your supply have already happened. So, the matter needs so much of to see the graph with this. Can you see my cursor here? Yeah. So see, look at how the inventory has piled up. It's almost like completely double the case of what it was earlier. Why? Because the supply has come based on the earlier forecast, and this customer didn't get orders, so they stopped the order. Once the supply is new, they will give the orders, but very slowly. So when the customer is dropping the order, when he's not getting the supplies, he'll do it immediately. But when he wants to ramp up, let's say when the supplies are back and he wants to put the orders back on you, but he's going to do very slowly. Why? He's skeptical, right? In the past, he screwed his case. He's going to come back. He's going to give orders, but he's going to do very slowly. But by that time, the inventory is already shot up. So this whole thing is on off. Sometimes the supply is down, and sometimes when you really want the supply to ramp up, all this disrupts the whole supply chain. The plant will slow down sometimes, the vendors have to be stopped. And suppose so much inventory is piled up over here, obviously now the inventory is going down, so you will also cut down your supply. You will slow down your plant, you will tell your suppliers not to supply the material, all these things exactly happen. This is another type of disruption which is very based on your internal process, self-inflicted. So how do you take care of it? What is the way out? How do you solve this problem? Better forecasting tool, accurate forecast, try to forecast more accurately. It's an oxymoron, forecast accurate, oxymoron. Okay. One thing that we work is something called, we don't rely on forecast. We rely on something called a pull-based replenishment system, where the whole supply chain is reacting to what is happening on the sales front. So whatever gets sold, you reduce and replenish it back onto the warehouse. You don't do a forecast of effect after happens after 3 months. But this is more dynamic. So whatever sale is happening in the US warehouse, you react immediately on the production warehouse, in the production and supply. So the only thing this will work, there's only one necessary condition it will work is that you have to cut down your replenishment time. If your replenishment time are still 6 months, then it's not going to help you. You have to cut down your replenishment lead time in the sense that, which means what? How can I cut down my 2 months of production lead time? Can I bring it down to 1 month? So there are solutions which can make that happen, but you have to do it. Similarly, procurement lead time, which is maybe 2 to 3 months. So if I maintain inventories, can I completely decouple the raw material lead time? Stuff like that. You have to work on cutting down the lead time in the supply chain, and then don't rely on forecast. Don't rely on what is really selling, and then quick response. You can hopefully move back fast to the customer. Because it's very difficult. Whatever fluctuation that will be there, the system will absorb. But trying to predict something down the line, a couple of months down the line, and something goes wrong, and bouncing back, the huge ups and downs that you will see, and this will keep disrupting the supply chain. That's a way to solve this problem. Similarly, in the auto, in the auto sector also, people keep forecasting, pushing the inventory down the line. So there is forecast, there is targets that get coupled with it, and will push the inventory down the line. But that's not going to help. same system of what is getting sold at the dealer's end, if that can be replenished back from the OEMs and suppliers, that will the lead times to react to the market change is going to be very fast. Okay, understood? Yeah. So that's come to the close. We talked about three types of disruption, and in most cases we see it's important to cut down your reaction time. You have to work on your internal capability. What will happen on the outside event you can't predict. Forget about that. Don't waste your time predicting the external effects. Work on your internal efficiencies, how you can, all your supply details can be cut down drastically. I'm not talking about 5%, 10%, maybe 20%. And there are ways to do that. And there is, so that brings to the close. There is another disruption that I've not talked about, because I don't really know what the solution for that is. It's called, it's called negligence. Willful negligence is something like what Rand did. I don't know whether you read that book called Bottle of Lies on the Rand story. The company went down to the knees. Why? Because they were funding all the data. They were all spurious medicines going to the US market and all sort of stuff, no quality standards, bypass, all those things. So any company, Nestle also got hit. It must be a couple of years back that Maggie noodles were leg and MSG and all was found. So, not falling into certain quality standards and willful negligence, I call it. That's another type of disruption. But solution is very internal to the company, philosophical and stuff like that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing such valuable insights. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Virendra Kumar, sir, the Head of Sales and Operations Planning at Dalmia Bharat Group. Mr. Virendra Kumar, an accomplished alumni of Xavier Institute of Management Bhubaneswar and National Institute of Technology Jamshedpur, where he completed his postgraduate diploma in management with a specialization in operations and supply chain management in 2008. With over 25 years of extensive experience in the supply chain and operations domain, Sir has demonstrated exceptional expertise and leadership throughout his career. Currently, as the head of the sales and operations planning at Dalmia Bharat Group, Sir plays a pivotal role in shaping the company's strategy direction. His career trajectory includes significant contributions to leading organizations such as Exide Industries, ITC, ACG World, Rosefield Energy Tech, and Imami prior to his current role. His impressive track record highlights his proficiency in managing teams and driving business performance to new heights. We are honored to have Mr. Virendra Kumar sir with us today and are eager to gain valuable insights from his transformative journey. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Virendra Kumar sir.
Audible? So it's visible, the screen is visible, right? So good morning everyone, and thanks for giving your time to us out here to deliver on managing the risk and mitigating the risk. So I will talk about on this subject mostly from operation side. What exactly happens in Danya various such kind of situations. So I'll go through that and possibly that give you some insight part of it. We'll take up questions accordingly. Yeah. So to start with what Mr. Sailesh, he has already talked about what disruptions means, and if you go by dictionary meaning, so you can see what does it mean. Any activity which is impacting you, right? Which is impacting you at a personal level, at a company level, at a state level, at a country level, or even at a global level, right? So any such activity which is impacting, which possibly comes under this definition, and that is where I had taken a clue and tried to understand this particular subject which was given to present here. So what is this disruptions? What were disruptions which has come in recent times, which has impacted us as an individual, us as a country, us as at a global level, right? So first thing which came in, which Salesh is also talking about, COVID-19 was such memory with us that it has impacted every personal life as well as it has impacted everything, operations, supply chain, country, lives, everything, right? So that is one thing which you remember it. What else? This is also how I think Sailesh has been talking about. Because when you talk about supply chain, it's not about individual company. It's connected with so many things. And any event which happens anywhere in the world, possibly that impacts you as well. It is only the matter of extent to which it is impacting you, but there is some impact is always be there. So when certain war is happening between Russia and Ukraine, there are some supply disruption happening. In Europe possibly. In India also, India has mitigated that risk with its diplomatic connections. But there was some impact. Next is what is happening in Israel, right? One of our strategic partner. This is one the country which is high in technology, and we have a lot of strategic partnership with Israel, right? Political turmoil in Bangladesh. Recently, it is a very bad state it has happened. And if you see many industry that got impacted, especially the textile industry. Yeah? Rising inflation may be touching to us on a daily basis. Is it part of disruptions? If you go to lower middle class, possibly they can talk on this, how they are badly impacted by such kind of disruptions. Economic slowdown possibly impacts all of us. As a student also we want job after having completing the graduation. But there is an economic slump which happens across country. It may impact any professional, any student or any graduates. This is very, very thing which is coming up. Impact of AI and ML, especially in industry, and it will impact again job market. So this is going to also impact possibly us in badly in coming years. Government policy, which I think Sailesh was also touching upon, if any policy comes which totally disrupt the market. And finally, but not the least, any industry dynamics which changes, right? In the industry structure changes, possibly that also takes a kind of disruptions. These are just, I put it as a how disruption happened with these players in the market. Uber has come, so we changed our lifestyle in terms of the way we act. When Swiggy, Zomato came, it possibly changed our behavior in terms of eating habits. When Insta came, again our behavior possibly has gone for again a change. So these are supposed to call the market disruptor in current context of operations. And if you see their operations, it has totally changed the market dynamics because of their operations, nothing else. So how, if I just try to classify this operations, how it can be, it can be either external kind of disruptions or maybe internal. So how you define the disruptions? So whether the scale is, the first you see the scale, at what scale it is going to impact you, right? In which structure it is there. It is within the industry, across the industry, across the nations, like that. So you have to see where exactly it lies at, and then what is the impact it is going to create. So possibly these are the three factors which is going to define possibly the disruptions. And when you take the mitigation actions, you have to take care of all these factors into it. So I just take one example that uh, when we talk about a plant, right, when the plant is running, and when we try to understand what all disruption it can happen at a plant level, right? So at a very low level, if I go, if I'm running machines, plant will have a set of machines. There are n number of machines will be there. If it is a shop floor of FMCG, if it's a cement company, there will be a whole lot of equipment which will be there. And suppose one equipment go for a breakdown, then what will happen? How it is getting impacted? So this is second point is, if your capacity utilization go for a toss, then what you will do it? Is there a disruption for you? Is this a disruption for the company? And finally, reduction in industry itself. Like if I talk about the cement industry, where I come from, last 2-3 months, I mean Q1 and Q2 has been a quite slump in terms of both price and both in terms of demand. So the entire industry has got the capacity utilization quite less, maybe at down 60%, somewhere between 50 to 60%. So is that a disruption in the market? Why this has happened, that we can analyze it. There are various factors to it. But if you see, right now the prices are at rock bottom of the cement bags. So is that a disruption in the marketplace itself? So that we will try to cover upon. I will try to take 3 cases and see how we can explain this disruptions. So I'll take Dalmia Cement as a company, and from there I have taken 3 small examples to understand how the disruption can change the entire dynamics, how we have mitigated and come over this, right? So Dalmia basically it's a company which is in 3 segments. Major part is cement. It's also have a sugar into its portfolio. Refractory in a very small segment now. It used to be a big, and one of the aspiration of the company is to be carbon negative by 2040. That is also one of the things which the company is thinking. So what exactly is the presence, and how you can see the complexity in terms of their operations. This company is established across 10 states and having 15 plants, right? Current capacity, you see, it is one of the 4th largest in terms of around 47 million ton of capacity, which is per year, right? And we have a various kind of cements which is available, not only for just construction, but there are some specific cement which is required for airstrips, for like ONGC we make some specific cement which is for their oil well, right? You can see there is 49,000 plus channel partners. So if you see the complexity of entire end-to-end supply chain structure, how complex it is, and if there are slump and demand happens with this 49,000 channel partners, the impact will be there in the entire chain, right? And that is what we were explaining about what is bullwhip effect. So you have to manage this entire chain in terms of right from operations to final delivery to the customer, right? These are the important some of the milestones for the company. I think Hirakud Dam is the first one which was manufactured by us. I think this company came into existence because of this particular dam, because then the Prime Minister, he requested this businessman to set up a plant to supply cement. We also have a stadium out here in Bhubaneswar, badminton stadium, which recently got inaugurated. And one of our brand is, Konark, which is very famous in Odisha. So now coming to point number one, how we have managed COVID. And you will see how the numbers are looking different, because when you will see the entire country number in terms of GDP, it has gone down for the year, it is 12.8%, right? But if you see numbers for Dalmia, its sales volume has increased by 7%. Income from operation is grown by 9%. And we were also amazed to see that during COVID times, the EBITDA was the highest one. When COVID started, I think 23rd of March or 24th of March, 1 month we have total disruptions. But we were engaged with entire team in terms of making the strategy. If the operation opens, how we can fill the gap fast, right? You wanted to take the first mover advantage. Otherwise, once somebody comes in, that time the pent-up demand was so much that he will fill the space and he will be not having an advantage in terms of supply, right? So what exactly we did, those points in times? It may be, so we were the first company who started the operations. We have, a corporate affairs team who were completely tying up with the government rules, regulations, protocol, what has to be followed at plant, at offices, at depots, interstate movement, state movement, transportation, everything. So that because that point in time, the entire regulation happens through government only. So that was very crucial and critical for us in terms of starting itself the operations. Because the moment COVID happens, and if at all you start the operation, and if there is some cases of COVID found, your entire operation will be shut. So that was one of the risks which was supposed to be mitigated, right? So first of all, we have made out of the policies, the government policies, made the SOP for each segment of workplace. At plant level, what will be the people who run the machines, people who load the trucks, the transporters, the drivers, how they will get the entire SOP, percolated down and communicated to him. So it was important for us because they are all our stakeholders and critical partners in terms of achieving our goals. Another point is that transporter and driver, because they will not understand your language in terms of SOP and all those things. So we have organized a restroom for them actually. In the plant itself, we have made a group of people and some restrooms available for them separately. We have given them food. We have given them all that which was required during COVID protocol. And that's why they have got some confidence, because they will also not want to come to this particular activity. But slowly and steadily they have got confidence on us in terms of whatever we used to give everything. We used to give packets for food during their journey, right? Because they will not get any food. So these are the activity which we have done it, and that has given a lot of confidence in terms of those transporters. Paperless operations, that was very important, because you cannot go and touch and give the invoice to them. Many of the operations or innovation or automation which has happened during that period was really remarkable in terms of making that risk on mitigation. So paperless operation was one such automation which was done. You must be knowing that in industry there is a gross weight and net weight happens at weighbridge. That was completely automated. during that shutdown period of a month. So these are the operational execution which has happened, which has mitigated the risk, and we came like IVR response. We just started. There is a art where the trucks, stops, and entire driver's fraternity will be there. So we started, calling them through IVR, and they will come with the trucks automatically. So there was no any physical going, searching them, calling them like that. Then coming to the depot point, the last mile delivery, how it happens, right? Because ultimately that matters. So from there also we have given a lot of training to them, a lot of confidence to them with respect to their stability, their food, how they will stay there. So those kind of confidence has given us much more, confidence in terms of making that operation full. So this was one of the operations, which was one of the activity which has given a lot of advantage, and that's why if you see why this we have achieved highest EBITDA during that period of time. This is one such mitigating risk which we have done and achieved that number. Second is reduction of logistics cost, right, through clinker transportation. So if you go by data, the logistics cost in India is around 14 to 18% of the GDP, right? You might have seen these kind of stats. But if you go to European countries or US, it will be around hardly 7 to 8%. And that's why the government of India is also taking a lot of initiative in terms of bringing down its cost. So if you see the average traffic European countries, they run around 800 kilometers, while we are just running around approximately 400 max or 500 max. So these are the stats, and when it runs for less kilometer, the turnaround time is more. So that's why you cannot rotate the truck more and make it more beneficial. The moment you are making it more running, the advantage will be more and the cost effectiveness will be more. The entire India, if you see logistics cost is 14%. In cement industry, logistics cost goes for 25%. This is again very high. If I am earning, 100 rupees, I have to spend 25 rupees on the cost of transportation itself. That itself is very high. So how to mitigate, such kind of operations which is there? So what happens is in cement industry, clinker is one of the main component I would say. If you see clinker, some of the type of cement will have around 98% of the clinker requirement. That is one of the R&D. And if you see the structure of the any cement company, there are two type of plant is there. One is which is called integrated unit, which they make clinker and cement both. Another is which is only grinding unit, which they make cement. So what happens is we have only one integrated unit, which is located near Raurkela, which is Rajgangpur. And there are plants which is located, I am talking about east. So we have a plant in Bokaro, we have one plant in Cuttack, we have one plant in Kharagpur. So you have to transport, clinker first, then only the mill will run or the production will happen. So what happened is this Chakradharpur area, if you see, it's a very highly congested route for rail. And by the way, you must be knowing that if I have to transport anything, the least cost is for water transport, then it comes rail, then it comes road, right? So any such volumetric kind of material, bulk kind of material, it will be transported through rail only or road, you can say. So what is happening is Chakradharpur is one such division where you have a lot of coal fields, right? So what happens is a lot of priorities are given to this coal sector, the food sector, fertilizer sector. So you have very less availability of for other sectors like cement or any other sector. So how to mitigate this? If you are not able to transport clinker, you will not able to run the machine, you will not able to produce the cement. And what will happen is there will supply cut off. So again, which is talking about Salles was, there will be effect will happen. Your market will dry, your competition will take over from you. So you have to see the industry structure and see what exactly the changes are happening. So what happened is we tried the different kind of model in trucking itself. The first model we try out is market fleet, right? There are a lot of fleets there in the market, and then you have to grab them and use them for that particular route. But those market fleet, what happens is they will flee away. They make maybe one trip, they are not loyal to us, right? So they will do one trip, two trip, they go away. The moment they get more money in some other sector, some other loading, they will just go away. And we still have that supply gap kind of situation. So what is the next, options we had it? So we started with dedicated. So when you dedicate something, obviously the turnaround time will be less. It will make more turns, and possibly we will have some advantage on cost. But again, that's not, in terms of reducing the cost, not much more significant. Then what we did is we also done another model which is called fixed plus variable. We have started telling them we will give you this much money and it's our choice that you will rotate in a particular route. In dedicated they used to flee away here and there. But in fixed and variable model, we have made agreement with them for 3 years that you have to rotate your vehicle in this particular route, and we got some advantage. After that, EV came in, right? So the biggest advantage for the EV is fuel efficiency. Though its initial cost is higher than the normal diesel vehicle, but when we see that our deployment will result into a lot of savings. We have able to reduce around 18% of the freight, and we have saved around 85 crore for clinker transportation. So this is one such thing which we have mitigation which we have done for this particular clinker transportation. And just to tell you that recently the government has announced 2 major changes in this division. They are going to have major lines in the CKP divisions. One is Burger Road to Nawapada, in that sector is putting up one line. One more line they are putting it so that the traffic efficiency of this particular area has to go up, because it's totally highly congested and train is not able to move. So that will give another advantage to us. Coming to the third part, which is managing cost through optimization based planning. So coming to this particular situation, when you have a lot of constraints, lot of inputs, what I will do? I have 15 plants in 10 states. How I will manage it? Which plant will produce what? What is the allocation to it? It will supply where? So how I will do? Can we do in Excel? Possibly not. The combined capacity I told is 46 million ton for the year. Means at a time I might have 37, 38 lakhs of ton of cement available. But how I will distribute the entire thing? I will do the planning part. Because plant, they don't know what to make, where to supply. So that's where the planning becomes very important when you have a lot of complexities. In our case, we have 15 plants, 10 states, 300 depots, 10 SKUs, 2 kind of channels. So all this complexity possibly you cannot manage on Excel. You cannot manage on Excel solver. So for that you need a tool, and that's what we are using as a Groby optimizer, which I was talking to Professor also in the morning. you have plant maintenance, you have various kind of constraint which is also there. So how to deconstrain those kind of situations when you have such a big kind of volume to deliver. So what we do out here is, like in solver also you have three parameters. What is the objective function of that? Like either you want to do cost minimization or you want to do profit maximization. These are the two objectives which is there in the solver, right? So there in those complex kind of scenario also, the objective remains the same. What varies is the constraints, the number of inputs. That becomes very, very high. And to manage those inputs and constraints, when numbers go very high, then you go for a optimizer. And that will give you some output in terms of what is the source price. Suppose I have a customer located in Bhubaneswar. So from where to supply? You may not be able to tell because a lot of inputs are there. There are variable cost, fixed cost, there are energy cost. There are so many things which is there as a part of input, and you may not be able to understand in one part that where to supply it. Second is you have two modes, right, with respect to your capacity. Either you have to send it through road, and second is through rail. So which mode it has to go? So it's very important because if I select one mode versus other, my entire contribution or profit will go down. For a same place, if you just change the source or change the mode, your profitability will either go up or down. So when you have huge kind of transactions during the day, you may not be able to understand from where and what to send. So once this particular output comes, then what we do also the product wise planning. People and plant what they will do, which product they have to make, what should be the percentage of a particular product during the day operations. So these are the decisions which is being taken by the optimizer, and that gives a lot of confidence at least to the operations team and the entire value chain team that yes, things are right and we will get the material on time, right material and whatever is required. We also do a lot of, once this planning is there, the raw material planning is also done, and it's very costly. Like you have to get slab, you have to get coal, you have to get gypsum, you have to get a lot of such raw material which is quite huge in number, like million tons. Like I am talking about millions ton kind of stuff which we have to carry out. You have to do a supplier agreement with, let's say, Tata Steel, with Jindal and all those things, the big B2B. So all these things you cannot possibly do on a Excel sheet. So once this throughput comes from this optimizer or output comes, then we take for all the planning, whether it's a raw material, whether it's a packing material is there, or any other sub adhesive material which is required for making the production. So why we are saying all this thing? Why we say we have to go through optimizer? Why we should have a planning tool? Why we need this? And I will tell you, to run this tool, you need it's not a tool to run it. You need a lot of brain to map the entire model, which is called modeling, optimization modeling. So possibly in your syllabus also there may be optimization must be there, and maybe at a simpler version. But when you take a complex kind of stuff, where a lot of variables with respect to inputs and constraints are there, then you have to do the modeling with respect to process, with respect to product, with respect to plant capacity. A lot of factors are there which you cannot do possibly on a simple thing, and you need a very, very specific skill. Just to tell you, there are companies who are providing this kind of solutions. You must have heard about O9 is one company which gives this. Blue Honda is market leader into this. SAP, there is one functionality called APO. So that also this functionality is there. But to learn that particular skill, to make it happen, it needs definitely people like you. Not anybody can do it. So that's the crux of the entire thing, right? Why we run this particular plan? Why we run this particular software? Because there are different functioning companies, manufacturing, sales, logistics. So it gives a platform to align them. I cannot say you have to manufacture this much, you have to manufacture this much. It is the tool which has deciding the entire complexity of operations, and it is giving a result which is agreeable to all. So it's basically this tool gives a form of collab between functions so that the entire functions and the entire operations run smoothly. Otherwise, it's a one to I just take one sheet and tell you have to manufacture this, you have to manufacture this. It cannot be sacrosanct. So once the output comes, we also have something called SNOPBT, Sales Network and Operations Planning, right? Because whatever sales means, the demand comes from there. You see the entire network. You don't see just one-to-one network or one plant, one state like that. You have to see the entire network. Possibly one plant may be supplying to 4 states. Possibly one plant is supplying to only one state. So those understanding has to be there with all stakeholders. And that's why this is important. It also identifies bottlenecks and constraints. Suppose you see that one plant is heavily loaded, 80%, 85% CU is happening month on month. Then what is next? It also gives you a strategic thinking in terms of what next for this plant, right? So the future capacity expansion also draw from this plan, because you try to get some data, you try to see the trend, and you take some decisions. What we see through this optimization, somebody will ask you why we are trying to do this thing. What is the use of this tool? Why you need a planning tool? I'll keep one person, he will do the entire plan. So these tool has given a lot of advantage to us. First of all, I will tell you one of the plant which is located in Bokaro. It is very strategic because it is trying to feed many states. And that has given a recent expansion of around 2.6 million ton. That has not come through all of a sudden, but when we are doing this analysis of data, then it has thrown out such kind of result that we have to go for expansion. Because when you are going for expansion, you need capex, 300 crores. So if the company is going to invest 300 crores, it has to go through data and see how it is giving advantage with respect to contribution or bottom line. Second is, when we have expanded this, we have seen what is the mode. I was talking about two things. One is source mix, another is mode mix. So whether we should have enhanced rail capacity. So that has also come through this kind of software or planning tool, which has given us a complete direction that we should go for a next line or enhancement of rake loading. We also have a plant which is located in part of Bihar. So there also we are going to have expansion of around 0.6 million ton. Why? Because we have got a need and data from here itself, and that's why we are going to do it. Another point is last mile delivery. The first rate delivery is very simple, from plant to customer or plant to maybe depot. It's a very simple kind of thing. The problem happens in the last mile delivery. So where exactly you can put your depot? Right? Where exactly you locate your depot? Where I should open my depot points? What should be my footprint for my depot? That is again one of the output which we are having from this, just to optimize cost, just to also keep the cost in check. Because my primary freight may not go so haywire, but when my depots are not located, possibly that will go for a toss. So these are the certain initiatives which we have taken. and we have got a lot of advantage while mitigating the issues which has came in the operations. And I would say that risk or such kind of risk is always be there in operations. Any event happens and we need to mitigate it. Suddenly one plant goes for a maintenance for 15 days or there is a major breakdown, then we have to take that risk and we have to mitigate that risk. So what happens is we again try to simulate that kind of situation, that if plant A fails, what happens? If my plant A is only 50% capacity, it runs for this month, what will my network? So that way we are trying to simulate that particular tool and get the insight from them to get the maximum advantage out of it so that the bottom line should not get impacted. Because ultimately disruption happens when there is a hit on the top line or bottom line. And when that happens, operations or supply chain, entire operations, they take that lead to mitigate such kind of ripple effect which comes in. So that is what I have to present here. So thank you so much for providing the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise with us. It is a distinct privilege to welcome one of our most accomplished alumni, Ms. Swati Joshi ma'am. Currently a senior program manager supply chain at Amazon, ma'am has been at the forefront of driving critical supply chain initiatives, contributing significantly to Amazon's operational success. Her nearly 5 years at Amazon have been marked by strategic leadership and impactful decision making. Prior to her remarkable journey at Amazon, ma'am held influential positions at Spencer's Retail, where she excelled in new store merchandising and supply chain optimization. A proud alumni of Xavier Institute of Management Bhubaneswar, class of 2016, she embodies the excellence and leadership that our institution strives to instill in all its students. Today, we are honored to have her back to share her wealth of knowledge, experience, and insights with us. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello everyone. I hope you are having a good day. I know I am. I'm extremely honored to be back here today at my alma mater in the presence of these esteemed speakers and to be given an opportunity to say something about this topic which has been like in common circles after COVID or any other disruption event that may have happened in the near past. So before we start, just a quick introduction about myself, which has already been given. I'm a part of 2016 batch of XIM. I have about 11 plus years of experience in supply chain, both online and offline retails. I was part of Spencer Retails and around 5 years it has been since I've been with Amazon. So, coming to the topic of managing and mitigating operation disruptions. So you must have seen that recently the topics of disruptions, operations, supply chain has been more into our common discussions, which was not so much before the COVID-19 pandemic, because the world did shift from having a heyday to something that we should be looking forward to, we should be prepared, is what COVID taught us. But even before that, today we will see some examples of both within Amazon and outside of how did they manage some of the disruptions that happened in the recent past, what are the types of these disruptions, and can we even manage it. So the big thing with what exactly is supply chain disruption or operations disruptions. In this discussion, we'll be talking a lot of operations and supply chain in interchangeable manner. I don't need to tell you the difference between operations and supply chain. You guys already know it. And while operations, both of them are also suffering from similar types of risk, and the mitigation plans are also very similar for both of them. The types of risk that we might see are internal and external. When we say internal, it may impact, there could be disruptions in operations due to inefficient processes which are present in a company. Efficiency is something the supply chain always strives to achieve. All of the companies, they are working on getting the best possible result with the minimum possible time, with the minimum possible cost, which is not exactly how you manage the disruptions. How do you manage disruptions? Like the first thing maybe you will think about is, I'll build some buffer stock, I'll have more of this inventory, I'll plan ahead. But that will go against the policy of working with the lowest cost possible. You need to invest something in order to get that. Again, this is costly. So achieving that fine balance is really important. You can strive on to get that by first step could be checking your systems and your processes and seeing whether they are efficient or not, or if there is any scope to further increase their efficiencies. Which comes to this next point, the outdated technologies. The firms who have relied on outdated technologies and have failed to upgrade on time have seen that when it matters the most, their plans and their systems fail. So it's better to get their systems updated on time rather than getting gone when it matters the most. Another reason for internal risk that could cause some of the disruptions are human error, which I don't need to explain much about. It is possible in all the cases at all the times. There has been a recent example, you guys might not be knowing about it, but there was an outage because of a Microsoft update. So entirely the world over, all the systems were not working, the offices, our meetings were getting cancelled right and left. We were not even able to open the emails. The work had stopped. All that we could have taken, maybe, since we are not privy to their internal information, was getting a backup and keeping that, or maybe some timely updates on when it could be mitigated. Checking and maybe rechecking of what patch they are updating, and maybe just keeping things in phases. So what I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes an unexpected human error may also derail your carefully meticulated plans of the day, and that could also impact you in the later weeks or even the months. Other than the internal factors, there are also a lot of external factors. Internal, we can still plan for it, but it is very difficult to plan or even to attempt to plan about the disruptions that may be caused by the external ones. Some of the recent ones that we are seeing are the pandemics, the wars that could be present, that could be happening at one end of the world, but the impact could be felt at the other end. Also the natural disasters. There could be hurricanes, even torrential rains, which could be, for example, in the recent times, just few days back, we had severe rains in Ahmedabad region and also in Telangana, in Hyderabad region. Much of the logistics of our company had to be transferred, had to be rerouted, because there was no way we could reach the warehouses in these regions. So the choice at that time that we had to make was, whether should we take the longer route to get that inventory placed in another nearby location, which is a long zoning, and incur that cost, but still continue to maintain the supply chain flow, or should we wait and see how is it panning out? So these are the kind of decisions that we will have to take at every step. Whether to invest something, whether to take the decision now, whether to wait and watch. If you are waiting, will it be too late? If you are taking the decision now, is it too rash? So these are some of the things that we might have to see. So how do we mitigate it? How do we see that what works best for us? Maybe we can say that the companies who have the most efficient supply chains are the ones who are most resilient, because the impacts are felt by everyone, most of them. But some of the companies are able to maintain their operations flow without any major impact. So what makes these companies click? What do they do differently? Maybe let's start from the beginning. If the company, here, the resilience, what do we mean by supply chain resilience? It means that our supply chain flow or the system should be able to withstand the impact of the whatever disruptions that are coming, maybe shake up a little, but still stand firm when it matters and continue to work on its recovery path, so that the end customer is not impacted or impacted as less as possible. So the first step would be resistance to these disruptions. The resistance is being so prepared that you are not impacted much by whatever is happening outside. Could be from the internal factors or could be from the external. Internal factors, resistance could be by having a better contingency plan, having some of the, not putting all of your eggs into a single basket, and seeing that we are having at least alternate source. This alternate source could be for everything. For a manufacturer, it could be the alternate source of raw materials, the alternate source of getting the transports or logistics providers, or maybe an alternate source of how to, the mode of communications. For example, the mode of communication for Amazon fulfillment is not just road. Amazon also fulfills by rail and by air. They started fulfilling by rail in the year 2019 when they collaborated with the government of India, and they started with just one train. Now we are partnered with almost 130 plus trains, and about 150 plus cities are being connected via this. In 2023, Amazon also started fulfillment via air. Although these methods could be more expensive compared to the normal or traditional method of transportation from road, but at least at the time of contingency, we have some options which are still viable. We are not putting all of the things, all of the risks at one particular segment. So maybe that could be the way forward for this. We could also resist by conducting a timely or frequent enhancement of our systems, like I said already, or maybe a systems check where we are standing, what are we expecting the future years for us to hold it, for us to bring, and then are we prepared for it? Of how companies or the general you might not know about the Y2K bug. It was a millennium bug, just about at the turn of the century. When the computers were still new, and I mean, there were not much years had passed by when computers and internet had come into common use. And most of them were using, in order to save the data, the dates were in the form of just the last two digits, XX, and not XXXX. So the problem at that time was, what will happen after December 31st, 1999? Systems may get updated as the date to 00, which could mean the year 1900 and not 2000. And then how will it impact the systems? Lots of data which require the dates. For example, could be your medical records, could be the dates on your premiums, on the policies. How you calculate the interest rates on your accounts if the date says that it was started in 1995, but then now you have to calculate it based on the year 1900. There was a high risk that people thought that it would break down the entire world system. So what did they do? They came together and within a limited amount of time, they tried to update their systems. They tried wherever it was possible, they wanted to update that the date format should take 4 digits and not just 2. They worked with different governments in order to become YTD compliant, and then all of these systems did bring results. We did not see much of the impact, and in fact, the new year did come smoothly. While there could be various other reasons of why it was able to be avoided so well, maybe the risk factors were grossly exaggerated, but still, this example is still considered as one of those efforts where the entire world came together to prevent a risk that was threatening the whole systems of the entire world. The next thing is containment. So what is containment? It means the issue has already impacted us. It's not spreading further. Could be that because of some malfunctions, some of the defective pieces of mobile phones have gone out, or some of the food industry's packets have been tampered with and have gone out. If you know that it's already in the market, how do you contain it? That could be the one way to manage it. Stop the production at once at the impacted site. See how many people or how many customers have been impacted. Try to recall that. See what are the losses it is making you. How much downtime is required to make the systems correct, and how will it still impact. It will have some impact for sure, but at least it should be contained to a limited number. Now there are some things that even after resistance, not everything we will be able to avoid or we will be able to contain. And then if it does hit us, the thing that we can do is recover from it. The COVID-19 pandemic was a perfect example of it. The companies before this, the major terms that we were hearing in the industry, in supply chain were just-in-time production or lean production, where you only make whatever you are supposed to at the nick of the time, try to reduce the inventory as much as possible. But that sudden cut that happened due to the pandemic, if you didn't have any buffer stock, what are you going to give to the customers? If you had a buffer stock, if you plan on keeping buffer stock after the pandemic, how much should you keep it? Is it not increasing the holding cost? It's blocking your capital, and that is also something that needs a decision, whether you should prepare for the risk of the future or you should free up the capital you have now so you can make more businesses. So we will come to this, we will discuss this in details, but briefly giving you the important points on the recovery. After recovery, during the phase of recovery, the first step is stabilization of your operations. Your boat has already been rocked. Now all you have left to do is stabilize it. Take a moment and see where you are and what can you do. Try and stabilize it as much as possible and then try to return to the normalcy. The first disruptor that I've been talking about all this time is the COVID-19. Let me give you some of the specific steps that Amazon had taken in order to continue its operations, its supply chain during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, once when everything did stop, Amazon did put together all of its money on where are we and what can we do. The goal was still trying to deliver all of the packages to the customers. But the problem that we had, first thing, in the warehouses. In the warehouses, we had a limited number of people were allowed. Earlier, we still had to maintain, we did not have this concept of social distancing. But now, we did have that. And that impacted the productivity. First, Amazon did check what has the government allowed us to be serviced. These were called essential commodities. Okay, so we can service a part of our inventory, but how do we service them? How do we get the workers back into the fulfillment centers? There are some steps that were listed. Checking of their temperatures, providing them with the PPE kits, making social distancing a norm. How was it impacting the production, the flow? For example, all the warehouses have a fixed processing capacity. Say I'll be able to process 800 orders in a day, but because my machines can, so many people can work on my machines together. Because of social distancing, I won't be able to say use half of them because they're too near to each other. Because of social distancing, I won't be able to accommodate all of the workers at one place, like a canteen or in the entry area. So my workforce is getting half. My throughput per hour, the TPS, is getting half. How do I still process the 800 required capacity per day with half of my workforce? One step could be providing more efficient processes, or within half of it, with less number of people, can I increase the efficiency of my process to process more? Maybe avoid all the redundant processes. Maybe give them information that they need before they even enter into their working zone. These could be some of the steps that could be done. But still, there were some backlogs that happened in the system because obviously the processes did take a dip, and at that time it was very crucial for Amazon to inform its customers that because of this situation, this is what we will be able to deliver and manage customer expectations accordingly. This is not the first mile that was impacted. The middle mile, the sortation centers, and the last mile, the actual delivery stations were impacted by that. How will the delivery partner deliver to the customers if they are not allowed to go near the customers? If you guys remember the containment zones, nobody was allowed within that. But still we were fulfilling the orders from containment zone by not going inside, but looking at a safe path, the safe pickup point that some of these gated complexes has put, or some of the societies have put, or wherever it was allowed. Cashless deliveries were done. It was encouraged more by the customers, and also contactless deliveries. We were not only the delivery partner was asked to have his mask at all the time, but also requested the customers who were coming to take the delivery to have the mask and to come prepared. And they were not touching them; they were keeping it at the place and asking the customer to take it from there. All the intermediate devices, the systems, even the equipment of the factories they were sanitized on time and properly so as to prevent any case of transfer of these viruses, and thus with time things did come back to normal. And then we had the second phase of the problem, which, like I said, we did see a demand grow up during this time. Is it a sustainable demand? Should we plan based on that increased demand, or should we wait and see what is it coming like? If I tie up my inventory because of this and it did come along, then what will I do later? Some of the other disruptors that we had in the recent past was the Suez Canal blockage by the Evergreen goods shipping container that we saw. So this could be an example of human error, which resulted in a traffic blockage of about 400 ships at one point of time, causing losses of tens of billions of dollars per day. It impacted the logistics systems worldwide. Some of the companies were more impacted than others. Maersk, which is a world's leading logistics provider, they had to find an alternate route through the Cape of Good Hope, although it was longer, but still they were able to mitigate much of the impact of this by providing the customers, by delivering the shipments, albeit a little bit later time. I mean, the delivery time was higher, but still, it was better than getting blocked off all this time, because this blockage lasted for about 7 days. We all know about the disruptors, that is the Russia-Ukraine war, which continued for a long time, still going on. These had some of the impact that were not thought of earlier. Russia and Ukraine, they are the exporters, one of the world's leading exporters of the natural gas, the oil. So energy sector was quite impacted by this, specifically the European countries. So since they were not able to procure from Russia, they had to find alternate suppliers. This would be a recurring theme, that if you are not able, because of any disruptions, if you are not able to get your inventory or your supplier from the primary suppliers, you should multi-source. Then why don't we think of it earlier? Why do we depend on one single supplier or one single customer? Maybe because it is less costly for us. We have invested so much of time building that relationship with that supplier. Either we don't want to repeat that effort, or we don't see that happening anytime soon. And the time at that time when we come to realize that we should not have done it, it might have been too late. But still, we can choose to imply it as soon as possible in order to subjugate the impact of further risk. For example, European countries can move their focus from Russia back to US, and they try to get most of their energies from the LNGs. They also double up their investments in renewable sources of energy to become self-sufficient. It was also a theme for the next sector that was impacted, which was the agriculture and the food industry. Wheat production, corn production, sunflower oil, all of these exports were stopped, and then the European countries and the Middle East and the African countries were much impacted by it. They also, because of this, again, some of the different suppliers were looked for. Some of the countries also increased their own domestic production, and globally it was unanimously decided that we should have better ways of managing global food logistics. Automotive industries were also impacted. Semiconductor industries were impacted, which was an indirect result of it. And the energy sectors that we have already seen. So there are different ways in which we have seen that if we can mitigate the impact of the supply chain disruptions, the manual efforts, the improved forecasting accuracy, the better the increase in frequency of the system checks, the increase in communication, getting information from the suppliers and passing it back to the customers. But can technology play a role in mitigating any of these disruptions? The answer is yes. At least not entirely, but some of the impacts could be lessened by using one or multiple of different technologies that we already have. A couple of examples would be the blockchains or the RFID or the simple GPS. If you don't know where your packages are, how will you track them? What information will you give to your customers? That where are they? If you know where they are, and if they are not traveling as per their expected time, then you, rather than searching around the bush, you can directly go and pinpoint that this is stuck here and this is where I should put my focus in. Such a simple technology but have large uses. Same for RFID. It helps to give us a real-time tracking data. It gives more transparency, like blockchain, because and also it is, since it is decentralized, it is very difficult to get impacted by a single person or by a single source. You can always mitigate or maybe see that the work is being done by a different center than the one that is already affected. Last but not the least, the AI, the artificial intelligence and the machine languages, which are currently like the hot topic in all of these industries. Can they help in mitigating the disruptions? Probably. With AIs and these MLs could be taught to analyze the data better, the historical data better, and at least try to predict what is coming out. They may not be able to predict something as stark as a pandemic, but at least by looking at the trends of the orders, the customers' orders, and the supply patterns, they may be able to predict us that there is a possibility of a shortage or an overstocking of inventory. And what should we do? At what point should we take an action to avoid that? These are only some of the uses of AI and ML, which could help in mitigating some disruptions. So I want to leave you all with this thought that there is no right answer for how should we mitigate the disruptions. Different companies have tried different methods, and maybe all of them are correct. The key may lie on what decision should we take at what time and what should we prioritize. Should I prioritize my investment in AI and ML, which will help me later on? Or should I go on with my simplified systems and see whatever happens at that time? I will maybe think out of box and survive it out. So maybe everything still lies on the resilience, not of the companies, but also of the human spirits. We have come this far and we will still go, and the major disruptor like a pandemic was a proof of that we are even small efficiencies and small improvements in our everyday processes matter in managing these disruptions. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable insights. The fourth speaker for today's event is our distinguished alumnus, Mr. Kanti Prakash Verma, sir. Sir has an impressive career spanning over 15 years in various industries. Currently serving as the Global Traction Controller at XIM, he has a proven track record in strategic business governance, capacity development, and supply chain management. With an academic foundation from both Xavier Institute of Management Bhubaneswar and IIT Delhi, Sir has made significant contribution at companies like PwC and Technopark Advisors, where he specialized in market entry strategies, supply chain assessments, and commercial due diligence. In his illustrious career, Sir has been a driving force behind resilience and business governance, consistently achieving remarkable improvements in the fast fashion industry. Today, we are truly honored to have such a distinguished alumnus return to his alma mater to share his valuable insights. Let's join hands in welcoming Kanti Prakash.
Hello. It's always a pleasure to be in XIM. I graduated here in 2011. I've been on the other side of the table most of the time. And it's also a different feeling when I see Professor Ramana, Professor William, who taught us, and so have them as your audience. Now, sometimes I go to some business school for as a speaker or to take some specialization. This is my first time in XIM. But what makes this experience special, when you are among the youth, you somehow feel the energy, the enthusiasm. And coming to energy, I always feel it makes sense to be the last speaker in the pre-lunch session, because now people will wake up for lunch. And it's always bad to be the last speaker after the post-lunch session on the age accents. And since the topic is disruption, is speech during your sleep time could be a disruption. So in case you are oversleeping, just take your power nap. It's perfectly fine. We are not going to learn any rocket science in next 30 minutes. And nothing is important than your sleep and your health in case you feel sleepy right now. As I said, we are not going to learn anything very critical or anything which will change our life in the next 30 minutes. What I will try to do, I'll try to cover some industry-specific experience I have. I'll try to share as much as I can without compromising any issues related to data or information breach that my organization will have. To start with, I'll focus on understanding fashion supply chain. The reason I get limited to fashion supply chain, now myself a textile engineer and I work with H&M. So I think whatever I tell, even who minor work in fashion, might carry some value, on which you might get an option to look how that faces into the industry you work in future. And I'm sure lots of you might not work in operations, but the beauty of MBA education is that you get an introductory knowledge of all areas. And that makes you a competitive advantage that you know a bit of human resource management, you know a bit of finance, marketing. Just to share my experience, I did most of my papers in finance and IT, but I'm primarily working in operations, and I don't see any challenge around that. Then we'll talk something about decoding and managing operations disruptions. There, obviously, we have already covered a lot of things. I'll try to see what is not covered, or at least that's on my perspective to it. Then we'll move on some key topics related to operations disruptions, which are in discussion these days. Now let's move to understanding fashion supply chain. people around the world express themselves through fashion, and sometimes, I mean, for example, being in H&M, I take a pride that we give voice to people, and one of the primary objectives of H&M is democratization of fashion. When we say democratization, it is like ensuring that it's available to people who do not have financial way to say take design cloth. And then, when you have a purpose, your life becomes easy to work towards their purpose. A typical fashion chain, I thought this will make sense to understand the fashion chain. I mean, a supply chain in other cases also could be similarly complicated. I mean, this is primarily for cotton, so you have your farms where cotton production is happening. There are feedstocks like other material, input cost, there could be recycled material. Then you have ginning, there are option of recycling, you have fiber production like polyester or other synthetics like nylon. Then you have yarn manufacturer, knitting and weaving process which gives you fabric. Then there is dyeing and finishing, there are trims, buttons, zippers. Then there is garment washing, cutting, sewing, and obviously then there is the packing, logistics, and so on. The reason it is important to know when we talk about disruptions, H&M cannot afford to talk about disruptions in its one operation because you own the entire supply chain. Then you have larger responsibility to bring together all the supply chain partners, and therefore when it gets much complicated. Now you are talking about a network of networks, and you are sort of responsible for handling that entire network. Again, since I'm talking about fashion, and I think one of the speakers was covering that time gap between different events. So initially, all the fashion companies, they work in seasons. We have concept called seasons, where you have autumn, winter as a season and summer, spring as a season, because your merchandise requirement changes. If it is summer, you need more cotton, more linen. If it is winter, you need more woolen products. But the insight for that comes from different kind of fashion forecasts, much in advance. 1 to 2 years in advance, you start collecting the insight. So right now we are in 2024. So the insight for 2026 would be getting collected right now. On basis of that, you would do some analysis, some research. You would try to get some creative direction that what would sell, where is the trend going, and then you are predicting 2 years in ahead. Then you prepare your components. Components is your material. Then you also look at assortment planning, whether you want to increase one of the, say for example, whether you want to increase dresses and reduce business goods. Then you create product, you design and you review and you decide. And during your production you optimize and then you focus on buying and selling. And then, if there is a gap in the entire planning process, there is obviously additional scope of new information coming to you, which could disrupt your planning. Additionally, fashion is one of the sectors where you see fierce competition. I mean, I'm a textile engineer, sometimes I think this is the most primitive industry, and whatever development had to be happening long back. It's not like electronics or telecommunication or IT where you see new things coming every day. The new thing that comes in most of the manufacturing sector is related to technology. So people will talk about digital twins, people will talk about Internet of Things. So right now everything is communication and technology driven. The challenge you will see in fashion industry, since it's primitive and it's easy to enter the market, you will have fierce competition. Now you have heard these companies like Uniqlo, H&M, Zara. Then I don't know whether you know companies like Shein, Temu, but they all are entering the market, which is big force with a shorter daytime, and they have the ability to disrupt the existing big player. Normally, our traditional knowledge says that it's not very easy to disrupt a big player because you have muscle power and you have that experience and you will have cash to handle competition. It doesn't work like that. With your size, two things goes into your disadvantage. First is there will be some degree of inertia. You have been doing things for long, you will continue to do the same thing over and over. The second thing that goes against you is basically you cannot become too agile because you are answerable to lots of stakeholders. Imagine something going wrong in a big brand like H&M and Uniqlo and Zara, it will be news all over the world. It was smaller in size, still you can manage to handle that risk management component and you can design better communication strategy around that. So with your size, people become more vigilant on you, which adds additional content to your ability to manage disruption. And since we are still in the topic of fashion, this I have taken from McKinsey. McKinsey comes up with annual fashion report every year. So fashion changes depending on how the global economy is changing. Right now, people talk about lots about fragmented future, where developing economies will grow differently compared to developed economies. There are lots of action happening in terms of climate. Then consumer preferences keeps on changing. I will not focus on consumer preference much. And coming to fashion ecosystem, there is discussions around how to use generative AI and how the brands will emotionally connect with suppliers, considering that there is new age communication channels. Sustainability is becoming a focus in most of the areas where there are regulations. I think in the previous slide, we saw that European itself came up with around 16 regulations in the year 2023 itself, which are under discussion. They didn't came into force simultaneously, but there are regulations in terms of how do you communicate, how do you use the waste, how do you ensure that the right kind of material is used, how do you ensure that you have relevant certificates and so on. And there's a never-ending story there. Some of you might be knowing there is this concept of extended producer responsibility, where the producer is expected to take ownership of or responsibility of the supply chain. And we also talked about bullwhip effect. It's nothing new. Other slide after that. But this is something which is still there. Despite all our knowledge and progress in management science and operation management, we have not managed to find out a solution. Now, let's go back to World War II. World War II was a place where we saw lots of disruption. And the good thing about disruption that gives us an opportunity of innovation. So most of the management science or operation science developments like optimization models I was talking about, they all started getting their ground during and after World War II. So in a way, disruptions help us to revisit our strategy and help us to take a leap from there. In the coming slides, I will primarily talk certain things about sustainability rules and would effect very small, very briefly. So as I was mentioning, this is like in a fashion sector, if finished good, you see a variation of plus minus 5%. In the raw material stage, there could be a variation of 50%. Say for example, a retailer places 5% more order, probably a fabric supplier might feel that okay, he is expecting higher order, let me now stock more so that I will be able to reach the future demand. Then your upstream supplier might order even more. It could be very devastating at times because if you don't get this order and you block your capital, there is a chance that you might also become bankrupt. Or you might have stocks which will soon get out of trade. What is worrisome that around more than 3/3 or 3/4 of the procurement managers, this is out of an McKinsey survey, they feel that this bullwhip effect will remain there for another 4 or 5 years, considering the current political and economic development. Now we'll move more into disruptions. And these are like cliche word in management, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. We all say that we are living in a VUCA world. Some people say that okay, it's a Barney world. They feel anxious, non-linear and incomprehensible. And when I came across this term, it appeared a bit new to me, but VUCA actually started in 1987 when US Army College introduced this term. Barney came later in 2016 or 2018 if I'm correct. But this complexity and uncertainty, ambiguous, they all will remain. And I don't think in near future we'll have a solution to handle it. I mean, there are lots of development, as you mentioned, is happening on technology or programming or artificial intelligence, but how do you find out a solution to things which you don't know? Similar slide as we have seen, and here we are going back to June 2021, during COVID period. You had retail stores which did not have sufficient merchandise, any kind of merchandise, even grocery items. That's like a revenue loss and a customer going back empty-handed. We had chip shortages. We had shipping disruptions. In fact, White House had to launch a task force to address short-term supply chain disruptions. There was discussions about how to handle China, because China was not very clear on its policies related to COVID-related restrictions. And then since people were dependent on China for their imports, they were hit very bad. There are lots of discussions related to climate. There was conflict between several countries. There was between US and China primarily, and so on. So these are all examples of disruptions, and we'll cover some more in context of fashion industry. This is as late as August 2024. I think we covered Bangladesh issue a bit. So in H&M perspective, around 1/3 of our product gets sourced from Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, this political evolution in Bangladesh has been happening for quite a time. People view that the elections there are not very fair and clear, and there was protest on the road, still the operation was going on. And suddenly, one day, the region suddenly, the development was not suddenly, but nobody expected that on a single day, the Prime Minister of the country will come and say that, okay, I'm flying out of the country, and there was anarchy for almost a week. What do you do if you 1/3 sourcing comes from your country? I mean, it's not easy to find out an immediate solution. We can talk about different risk mitigation strategy and different ways to handle it. And on top of that, when you are focusing that your stores have enough merchandise, you have one more challenge. The stakeholders in Bangladesh are watching you whether you will cancel some orders, whether you will ask for any kind of discount on your cancel orders. So you have a responsibility to the workers working on the factory. You have a responsibility to the country. I mean, textile and garment is almost 80% of Bangladesh's total export, and H&M is a quite big player there. And then actually you are managing two different conflicts at the same time. You have a responsibility to the customer, that the customer should not go back empty-handed from the store. You also have a responsibility to a country from where you have been sourcing for 30-40 years, and you have a responsibility to the workers working in the country who should get their salaries. Anyway, a smaller company probably won't have those kind of challenges. That was relating to the immediate of size or scale. 40%, okay, since I said let me share some of my experience. Our strategy around Bangladesh is something we have been discussing for long, that how to mitigate the risk from Bangladesh. Now, the biggest sourcing destination for fashion is China. China doesn't have a clear policy either. I mean, there are COVID-related restrictions. The way they communicate in certain areas, they're not very business friendly at that sense. So you 30% on another 20%, 50%, how do you find out alternative destinations for them? Ukraine what? Ukraine doesn't produce any kind of cotton, nor does Russia, and cotton prices increases 40%. And unfortunately, I'm in a role where I have to give cotton price prediction. And these things, I mean, when you looked at the data, we realized that all the commodity prices basically move in the same direction. Russia produces wheat, and then all the food crop prices, agriculture commodity prices were going up, cotton prices was going up. Nothing to do with demand and supply scenario. Interest rates were low, So people had money and they are putting into commodity market. Then you have to keep a track of the financial market and commodity market. I mean, you will be knowing in the stock market, because sometimes gold prices don't go up in that ratio. If stock prices is down, people tend to invest in gold. Similar kind of thing is seen between financial market and commodity market. We had a new CEO starting start of 2024, and he spoke about in one of his initial discussion. I mean, in the picture you see both the previous issue and the new issue. They talk about Red Sea disruptions. There were security issues around the Red Sea. Because of that, lots of logistic companies have to change their route out of Suez Canal. And then you did take images by around 1 week, 7 to 10 days, which is a big concern because you have not planned for it. You are looking for an alternative to Bangladesh and China. Options you have Vietnam and Myanmar, and Myanmar there is the military coup. What do you do? So, and these decisions are not really short-term decisions. XIM had a very big plan for Ethiopia, and we invested a lot of money. And then there was similar political unrest in Ethiopia, for which XIM had to move out. So sometimes your well-studied change plan, logically correct activities don't yield the result you are looking for. As I said, I will not give you any solution because we also don't have any solution. And if there will be a clear-cut solution for this problem, probably there will be no need of management institutes or management professionals, because we are expected to navigate the organization we are working for through this complex situation. At the same time, we are expected to manage ourselves. Slightly debating when it comes to managing ourselves. This Harvard article by Peter Duck, if I'm not incorrect, there is an article called Managing Oneself. It's highly recommended to go through it once in a while, just to revisit. It talks about how we should prioritize our professional and personal life, what kind of skills we should learn, and so on. Not exactly what skills, but how and when. China, this article is around 2022. There are certain human rights related violations in certain region in China. There is lots of countries said we'll stop sourcing cotton product from China. China said, okay, we'll stop buying merchandise from these brands. And China has that power. I mean, among the developing countries, China has that power to muscle with developed countries, and they have been doing it quite openly for quite some time. This is COVID time. So XIM has been facing profitability challenge for long, and after lots of actions and initiatives, 2021 we started seeing good progress in sales, profitability, and then COVID came. So your profitability was like on a right kind of trend. You are certainly facing a challenge which you had never faced. Again, it comes to my favorite topic, which is commodity market and cotton. So this is the kind of volatility you see in a commodity market. Disruption, because 50% of your product cost comes from raw material, and H&M is heavily dependent in cotton. Around 60% of our product are cotton-based products. For Zara, the number would be 40%. This is a slide where I'm hitting some of the data. Normally, we give sort of predicted price for the forthcoming season. And unfortunately, I'm responsible to give that prediction, though I myself don't believe a lot in prediction. I'm of the view that we should go to the market and procure the product at the best price, provided the supplier is meeting all our compliance related requirements. However, I came to the role just after this red line. So basically, the yellow line you see is basically the prediction, and the blue line is the actual numbers. Just after COVID, all the commodity prices increased. So our team predicted the prices we see will be much higher. When we talk about high prices in a COVID-like situation, we are a bit cautious because the consumer is price sensitive. So if we're talking about say 20% increase, in the commodity prices, you also see a part of that has to be transferred to the consumer. If you don't want to transfer it to the consumer, then you have to take a big hit on your profitability. But something happened. We all were surprised. We got less price. Obviously, that's the breather from company's perspective, but that's the lesson. That was a lesson to us that how come the prices came lower. Because all the suppliers had lots of stock. They were afraid of the COVID situation. They wanted to get rid of stock at any cost. They are like, okay, give us whatever prices you gave us last year, but we have to go away of this stock. And there is an inventory carryover cost in case you don't release those stocks. And after that, it has been reasonably well. The prices are at all-time low right now, but then we don't know what kind of shock will hit us when. If I go back to March, I predicted around 3% increase in commodity prices, with a caveat that after 2 months the prices will go down. And as I expected, after 2 months the cotton prices went down, got a lot of cotton and cotton fabric, and we're like, what's happening? The reason for that when prices went up, and since we are at a plateau for a long time, suppliers have been optimistic that probably the demand will pick up or the banks will start buying at higher price. Let's keep those prices. They are very reluctant to reduce prices. After 4 months, we started seeing that decrease in prices. And these are more of subjective assessment of the market rather than numbers and data. This is a slide taken from a document by a professor from Yale University. Different factors, we have already discussed about it. Disruptions, I picked up because this is material shortage as one of the top disruption. But there was lockdowns, there was talent loss, especially if you talk to professionals working in IT industry. They'll talk a lot about lack of talent or they getting forced to hire talent at a very high cost. Then the solution, people talk about reshoring, skill building, circular economy, and so on. And when we talk about recovery, we talk about transparency, collaboration, innovations, new market, diversifications. Do they all make sense? The answer to that is no. When you are working in an organization, you are working in a specific industry in context of a specific business situation. On top of that, you have your specific teams who have their own attitude, approach, and way of working. Then it requires lots of tailor-making, and you don't expect to get a solution from anybody. Sometimes you have to go through and see what fits you best. I've been in consulting, sometimes we always feel, okay, we give suggestions, but whenever we give suggestions, many times clients are skeptical whether those suggestions will work, considering the team dynamics they have or the working way they have. And if it is about the ERP implementation, we said that you can do a business process re-engineering. That's also expensive. And in case you are talking about changing any processes in a bigger organization where you have reporting restrictions, you want to be transparent, it is even a bigger challenge. Traditional supply chain, when I used to study, and anyway, when one industry, you will be focusing more on service, cost and capital, and quality. Those are important. They will always remain important. So they are not going out. So it's important for us to keep our fundamentals clear on these areas. But then when you are into conferences and different discussions, you will hear lots about agility, resilience, sustainability. Not in supply chain, with your personal life. These are the elements we all need to develop. And slowly they will also be discussed a lot, and we are expected to learn, know this concept, and find out how these are applied in industry context. Now, supply chain risk arises from intersection of vulnerability and exposure to unforeseen event. It's possible to get it from seen events also. Vulnerability is a characteristic of market, that how the market will behave to disruptions, and then if any such characteristics crop up, you basically land up in a situation but not only in supply chain. And the region, it's important to know that lots of activities in an organization are interconnected. When I was talking to Professor, his topic was related to supply chain financing, his PhD topic. Whether that's operations or whether that's financing, it's an interface area. And I think that's the beauty of MBA, or that's the importance of managers, where we bring in understanding of different areas, understand how they interplay, and then find out how to deal with the situation. Knowing that sometimes we will succeed, sometimes we will fail. If somebody would have a solution for a problem, then obviously that will be like a dream scenario, but it's not going to happen. Now coming to operational risk, which is the bottom part of this, visibility to the suppliers beyond tier 2. What is it? Okay, tier 1, tier 2 is like explained. If I'm H&M, I'm buying product. My product garment manufacturer is tier 1 supplier. Then my fabric manufacturer is tier 2 suppliers. Then we'll also discuss whether the button manufacturer, zipper manufacturer, sewing thread manufacturer, whether they're tier 2 or not tier 2. You used to call them tier 3, now we're calling tier 2 because anyway they all supply to the garment supplier. It's very difficult to get visibility because you need to put lots of effort and investment to create that visibility. But you are expected to have that visibility. You need to know that, okay, my button manufacturing plant doesn't have child labor. Planning accuracy and agility, extremely difficult to do that. Manufacturing performance monitoring, we talked about machines and how to handle them, how to handle disruptions around machines. Product complexity, and when it comes to product complexity, I'd like to digress a bit. We do lots of recycling material, and there is lots of discussion around circular economy. But there also you could see disruptions. I mean, the normal perception when I moved into those discussions around circular economy, it sounded all well. That you have your waste, you take your waste, you make a product out of the waste. So you are delinking yourself from market volatility because your waste source is clear. Doesn't happen like that. For two reasons. One is you need to really prove that that's recycled material. There are certain bodies which give you certificates saying that this is recycled material. I go back to 2023 now. We are in Bangladesh at that point of time, and there was this news that control union to get this certificate, they are banned by USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. The reason was not disclosed. We looked at how many of our suppliers get certificate from control union. It was more than 50%. Now suddenly you don't know how to handle this. You have been sourcing organic product. You have been telling your consumers that organic cotton is good, and you need to back it up regulation-wise through certificates. And your biggest source of organic cotton is India, and the biggest certifier of organic cotton is banned. You don't know how long, you don't know why. It was loss of effort, and beginning it's not that you face a single disruption at a time. COVID was a good learning period. If you look at COVID, as I mentioned, on one hand you have to address that your store is getting your customers are getting the product. At the same time, you want to ensure that factories keep on running, and you also want to ensure that your employees are safe. They get a conducive environment if they are working from home, and then also you have profitability target, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you are into business as well. The only question is that how to create that balance, and it's not very easy to find out. Bigger the size, bigger the reputational risk, bigger the data security related risk, bigger the structural inertia. An organization size and structure could be an advantage or disadvantage depending on the specific needs. I think we started with this concept of Black Swan business challenge, brainstorm, and manageable surprises. So, our ability to anticipate. Okay, by the way, this reminds me, you always used to say MD is a wonderful journey of 2x2 matrices. And in maybe next 2-3 minutes, we go through that 2x2 matrix journey very briefly. So, many times it's advisable to at least identify the risk. The beauty of identifying the risk is, in some cases, you can pre-devise tools or pre-make tools to handle those risks, or you can put a structure, responsibility matrix, how to handle those risks. Black swan are basically the risk where the ability to anticipate is low and magnitude of risk impact is high. But then business challenge on the extreme is ability to anticipate could be medium, but magnitude of risk impact is also medium. For example, labor dispute, challenging customer requirements, regulatory changes. It's not that regulations happen suddenly overnight. They take consultative process and all, you get to know. There could be some surprises where the magnitude of risk could be medium, but ability to anticipate is low. These are like localized conflict in country with no major operations or supply bankruptcy. Then there are events like Brexit or tariff escalation between US and China, which would impact you. And black swan, as I was mentioning, you cannot basically predict it. But still, probably you can devise some of the basic foundations that how would you behave or how would you respond in case there is a war between two countries. Whether you will close your retail operations in Russia or whether you will continue. I mean, for example, H&M closed its retail operation in Russia, whereas Zara sold its retail operation to some other country. So there could be different strategies. I mean, H&M was very clear that we don't want to be associated with that country, and we are ready to take a hit if we have to do that. Now, there could be different layers of defenses for managing unknown risks. Known risks are comparatively better to manage, but it's not possible. I mean, it's easy to talk about, okay, we can have additional cash, we can have predefined strategy, and so where do you get additional cash? You have your financial issues, you don't have capital to sit with you, and you don't know where the risk will come. You don't want to have idle money sitting with you. Then, if you are looking at unknown risk, there could be design quality and configuration related controls. You want to ensure that your machines are running. Oversight of assurance methods. Now coming to assurance method, I can share one of my examples. One of the examples I saw in around 2014-15. There is a India is housed to one of the biggest teddy towel manufacturer. I will not name them, but I mean you can Google and find. It was found that they export more organic cotton-based teddy towel than the organic cotton that is produced in the globe in India. Just to make it simple, if we are producing 100 kgs of organic cotton in a year, that specific manufacturer was exporting more than 100 kgs of organic cotton. Obviously, there was lots of discussion around it, they were banned from exporting organic cotton and so on. And those issues could be handled through assurance method. There could be better decision-making process, what are an operating fundamentals. During COVID, we had one production unit where we never produced. We used to produce with them maybe 4 years before COVID. But the suppliers stopped their production unit saying that there is no demand from H&M. We were like, oh, we have been producing for last 4 years, how come the demand stopped because of COVID? But these are like unanticipated risks which you can take in margin, right? Because sometimes it becomes easy to create lots of noise if you target the companies who commit more on their responsibilities and sustainability related agendas. This is second one, H&M annual sustainability report. This is how H&M does risk and impact assessment. Then we prioritize those risks. We focus on capacity building and training. We do sort of tailored action plan. Then we monitor. And we have our performance metrics to see how we are working on it. And linked to it, there are strategic programs, roadmaps, collaboration, there are country-specific strategies. We have public affairs team who talk to government in different kind of regulations. China says you can reduce recycling talking for kids product. Certain European countries say that you cannot import recycled material, but you are expected to use recycled material. So then you need to have people who can coordinate with those government agencies so that they also get the input from the industry. And then there's a need to have continuous dialogue with stakeholders. Now we move to select topics on operations disruptions. I will cover 4 to 5 topics. This is like we have been talking about importance of cost. First spoke about how to use optimization model to control cost. This is like while you are managing volatility, you don't lose sight of the focus and cost still remains important. And when we talk about cost, we obviously also talk about process efficiency. So this is a survey conducted by McKinsey in 2019, 2021 and 2023, so that it becomes easy to see the trend. This is where the procurement managers rank the importance of end-to-end process efficiency. These numbers will add up to 100% because there are 3 responses from each procurement manager. So that 41 becomes 29 here in 2021. But then in 2023, when the market sentiment was low, there was no discussion about demand recovery, everybody started talking back about efficiency. Our basic fundamentals are going to remain. They might gain importance or lose importance depending on the need of the moment. But as a student or maybe as a professional, we should not lose touch about basic fundamentals. It's like if you've understood financial statement analysis very clearly, you understand all the profitability related discussions at a high level. I mean, it's like people are talking about operating decisions and people talk about capital decisions. You understand where it will impact the financial statement very clearly. This talks about distribution of sourcing value across geographies. Again, comparison of 2019 and 2023 taken from McKinsey report. South Asia, okay, this is in the context of fashion and textiles. South Asia, people expect big jump around 11%. Southeast Asia and China are basically losing out business. China we discussed, right? And the good thing for India, when people talk about new sourcing destinations, they talk about India because India has good policy in terms of carbon emission, reasonable business environment. So it makes your life comparatively good when you are working in these countries, but at the same time, we are talking of fundamental shift. You have to manage profitability, you have responsibility to countries like Bangladesh, you want to move to new countries. And these things take lots of time to materialize, and by the time these things materialize, you could have additional challenges coming on your way. Brands actually they focus a lot on long-term relationship with supplier. Good or bad? The answer to that is the answer to most of the management problem is it depends. Depends on the situation and what context you are looking on. But if you look from say, sustainability and compliance perspective or driving strategic action perspective, it makes sense to work with a fewer number of suppliers so that you can coordinate with them very well. You also have the number just enough so that you can create a bit of supplier competition to get the best prices. So there is lots of discussions around building long-term strategic partnership with volume commitments. The bad thing is it comes with a commitment. It takes away your flexibility and bit of resilience because the next day supplier will come say that you are not placing orders, how would I pay my workers? You would say, okay, my products are not getting sold in the stores, how will I place orders? No easy solution to this reasonably simple looking problems. And I don't think we have a clear-cut solution to it. Sports brand or non-fashion brands, like they don't face this challenge because they don't follow any fashion cycle. For them, demand is mostly predictable, unless you have events like COVID. But in a normal situation also, you could face challenges around it. There is lots of discussion around compliance and compliance in material as well. So there is lots of discussion how to recycle, reuse, reproduce, refurbish, and that will continue. So these are planned sustainable material uses. Right now, for your black bars are 2019 numbers and blue ones are 2023 numbers. You see that there is a increasing trend for recycled cotton and recycled polyester. H&M uses 100% sustainable and sustainable source material for cotton, and for recycled polyester, we have commitment to use 100% recycled material by 2025. Right now, we are at 95%. A KPI for which I think I see every day and I'm partly responsible. But this trend will continue. Now, since we are talking about sustainability in fashion, and some of you would be knowing that textile is one of the most polluting industries, and it has impact on climate, water and ocean, land and biodiversity, resource use, and social impact because we have lots of workers working in the factory. Some of these areas you cannot even measure the impact in a very good way. So garment, it's easy to measure wage, there are some minimum wage standards, there are country regulations related to wage, you know whether you are paying higher or lower, whether you know you are meeting the requirements related to minimum working hours or not. Despite that, you come across some cases of violence once in a while. We do reach out to supplier every 6 months to reinforce our commitment towards these areas, still you see violence, and you can imagine what will be happening in smaller brands or not so small brands. And when it comes to sustainability, it's important that you communicate your agendas. The reason I put this slide here, I will not go into any numbers. The moment you are communicating more, and regulations will require you to communicate more, your flexibility to handle disruption will continue to go down. Just to take an example, I'm responsible for making the calculation logic for recycled materials here that we disclose every year. I didn't build the logic, I'm just responsible that we follow the same logic. And suddenly you find out the logic has some deviated. You have been reporting data for last 6 years. How do you handle it? Whether you have to go and tell that the industry was not ready, we are one of the pioneers, we took that fast step that will disclose this information to our stakeholders. Now we feel there is a need to make a correction. Whether the market will accept you making that correction, or the market will feel that with your size you are probably trying to mislead. So your disruption handling capability is also path dependent. What path you have taken. Since we are talking about it, it also, the disruptions could manifest in several areas where you cannot imagine. Just imagine you are actually heading, say, a telecom service provider in India, and suddenly a new player comes to the market, says that I will give you data and all your SMS and call absolutely free. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know how on earth Competition Commission of India can allow a telecom service provider to provide voice, data, SMS, everything for free. But that's a disruption you have to handle. And there have been several such examples of disruptions which don't make any sense. You know probably the source, but still you cannot control it. I think lots of speakers already talked about leveraging digital solutions, so I will not spend much of time here. But there are some areas where we have seen application of this digital solution and some areas where we have not seen applications. So I'd like to probably share some of my insights on what we want. What about using, say, artificial intelligence? Okay, I select a product. It says, okay, these are the materials you can use this product. It also gives, okay, these are the available suppliers. It might also give me some indication of the past performance of the supplier. It will make my life quite easy. Or I do a product planning or supplier quantity allocation. I want artificial intelligence to tell me that, okay, you are planning X quantity with supplier, which is not a good thing to do because your supplier has poor on-time performance over last 3 months. That will make my decision stronger. But in real life, we don't see much of this happening. The reason for that is data quality and data accuracy, which normally, when you speak about AI and machine learning, we do speak about. I think recently people have started talking about the biases in AI and machine learning because it learns from the data you are feeding in. If your data is not accurate, it happens like we go garbage in and garbage out. The challenge would be at highly unimaginable level. I mean, I have a friend who was in Philips Electronics. She was saying they don't secure bomb, they don't even secure bomb. I'm like, when H&M we secure bomb, bill of material. But data accuracy, we don't check. Sometimes you're buying a product. I want to buy a basic t-shirt. I know I buy a $3 per piece. Then I know what is the price. And I get an indication that, okay, this is the price considering this is market factor. So I should be paying $3.1 this year. And I'm getting $3.1 for that product. Whether I should go and look what is the fabric price the supplier is considered, what kind of consumption they have considered, what is the price of the button, and then what happens when we are sitting on lots of data, which is not used over a period of time, or you are sitting in lots of data where nobody has paid attention, your data quality becomes extremely poor, and you would probably end up using those data quality for the running of those AI and machine learning tool. So, to be honest, some of us are very skeptical how the initial phase of actual implementation of machine learning and AI group in some of the supply chain applications. People will come and tell that we have good quality data in ABC area and bad quality data in DEF area. You never disclose it publicly. One of the areas where we have seen good application of digital solution is traceability. So if I claim that I'm using organic cotton, I have to prove that this is organic cotton. Or if I claim I'm not working with any factory which doesn't have coal boiler, because coal is bad, it causes lots of CO2 emission, I have to prove that I'm not working with any factory which has coal boiler. So there we have seen application of blockchain in terms of traceability. And there are lots of areas where technology has lots of potential, provided we learn how to use this technology. So sometimes I face this challenge that what skill shall I develop as a mid-career manager? There are lots of tools, I have access to LinkedIn learning, I have access to lots of internet portal, but I don't know what exactly I need to develop. There are two types of skills we talk about in basic jargon, soft skill and hard skill. Hard skill is obviously easy to learn, but the more time you spend in organization, you are expected to be better in your soft skill, which primarily comes through practice as well as from your learning. But then it's not very easy that you devise a capsule or read a book and develop your leadership skills or develop your communication skill or develop your ability to give influential speeches, inspire teams, steer teams towards a common goal. The more you grow in an organization, the more you will have to develop those skills. Now, we move to operation management area traditionally, that the area primarily focuses on lots of mathematical models, lots of quantitative data, linear programming, optimization, game theory, system dynamic model, and so on. Then there is a discussion happening across the world on management education, MBA education, whether we are becoming too much empirical living. We want data, run some regression, run some hypothesis, run some mathematical model and find out a solution. And that sometimes reminds me a story. So one gentleman once had a problem. He was actually searching for something he had lost. He was searching in an area where there was a street light. A passerby came and asked, "What are you searching for?" The guy replied, "I'm searching for my key." And normally we ask, "So the question is useless. Why do you keep it?" The guy said, "I kept it around that dark area. There is some bushes there." Then the guy, "Why are you searching here then? Why are you not searching there?" The guy answers that there is no light there. So the core concept here, sometimes we try to find out solutions in areas where there is light, knowing that probably the solution lies in the area that is relatively dark. Just to take an example, parallel example to that, imagine a world where we can measure the happiness, we can measure quality of life, we can measure how impactful or fruitful we consider our own life. Then probably all of us will not talk about annual packages, the savings we have, or our monthly expenses. Because we know that the best way to measure quality of life or success is not money. But we also know it's difficult to measure those areas. Why not measure ourselves in terms of the things that are easy to measure? Relation to operation management or even disruption management, we sometimes forget that we sometimes take numbers as numbers. But no, numbers are basically stories. There is something fundamental behind that number. We are expected to go behind that and find out. It's like if it is professional among us, probably we look at some of the ratios, but there is always a story to that ratio, then you have to go to schedules to find out their story. And probably there will be further stories for which you have to go to the subjective description in the annual report to find out what happened there, or you have to search newspaper articles to find what is actually happening there. So no matter how company is messy, data alone may not win people over. And we are talking about managing disruption in complex organization structures in integrated world, where there is loss of technology, loss of supply, it requires lots of collaboration, just to go by number. Otherwise also, personally bring in some element of human. Within every adversity, there is an equal or greater benefit. Within every problem, there is opportunity. Even in knocks of life, we can find great gifts. So disruptions, as I was mentioning, could be an avenue of opportunity, and we could learn. And then it doesn't stop there. It's also about being aware. One of my friends was talking about orthogonal data recently. I just want to ensure I have 3-4 minutes more, maybe, sir. Do I get 3-4 minutes more? Do I have time? Maybe 4-5 minutes? Yeah. So one of my friends was talking about orthogonal data, and he was giving this example. Once Melinda Gates went for some kind of group promotion in USA, and after that, it was expected that book sales will increase in that area. It didn't happen. Melinda Gates was wearing a special kind of costume. The demand for that costume increased substantially. So similarly, unrelated information could provide you opportunity, and similarly, unrelated data points could lead to disruption. Now, if you look at all these areas, we also can talk about supply chain as a linear concept. Even if I go to one of my slides when I was talking about raw material production and garment production, I was talking about linear supply chain. And I think you should know right now that this concept is slightly outdated. People are talking about business ecosystems and maybe mostly in strategy areas where they see companies operating in an ecosystem. Just to take an example, there are lots of apps because the platforms are easy to build up, because there is internet connectivity, because there are service providers, so they help each other, they contribute to the development of that ecosystem. So even in supply chain context, if I say I want to use lots of recycled polyester, which is from textile-based source, I need a certificate agency which would give me the certificate that there is no textile-based source. Otherwise, I cannot move ahead. My efforts will not get better rates. So this is my last slide. Maybe I slightly reflect on what I could have done slightly better when I was in MBA. one of these areas, since I was extremely introvert, I'm just taking this opportunity to divert a bit. Since I was very introvert, I think I did not interact the way I should have interacted with my peer group. I mean, we have those MBTI personality tests and so on. I mean, I was the preacher, so I always felt that probably I'm missing out in some areas. But when I look back, I think it's very important probably to take some of those personality tests very seriously and understand why people behave in the way they behave without judging them and find out how to work with them. Because like in the organization, anyway, we'll be working with people who have different interest areas, different characteristics, and different way of doing things. Then you have to find out how to work with them. Same concept is applied in supply chain also. All your suppliers will not behave in the same way. They have their one understanding of business. Sometimes your suppliers might know your business better than you. And whether it's supply chain or it's personal life, people expect some kind of consistency and resilience. I think I was talking about COVID, where resilience was applied in supply chain, and COVID is also a good example where we have to be resilient in our personal life. Having said that, if I look at disruptions and talent, it will our journey will primarily depend on how we manage ourselves and our work during the time of disruption. Some of us, while facing disruption, may get panic. It has happened to me. I mean, there was a case where certain thing went wrong. I was like slightly panicking. Somebody said, just calm down, let's find out the solution. So, what we study obviously will be with us, but there has to be aspect related to how we bring our understanding of HR area to ensure that we implement our learning from operations management and other areas. Thank you, and it was a pleasure to get you as an audience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughtful perspective on this topic. We would now like to open the platform for questions. I request the students to raise their hand, introduce themselves, and ask their questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Kavita Hegde. I'm from the XIM MBA batch of 24-26. My question is for Sir Shailesh. During a disruption, what methodologies do you find most effective for maintaining end-to-end visibility and control across a globally dispersed supply chain?
Please ask the question once again.
During a disruption, what methodologies do you find most effective for maintaining end-to-end visibility and control across a globally dispersed supply chain?
Let me first understand your question. Is what you're asking, what is the best methodology for maintaining end-to-end visibility across the supply chain? Is that the question?
The question is, what are the most effective methodologies to do that?
For what?
For maintaining end-to-end visibility when supply chains are dispersed globally.
If you have to, I don't know, there's a methodology. I thought visibility is all done by the digital guys there. All technology and IT, that is not ensuring visibility. So what, in terms of methodology, I don't know what is there in your mind. For visibility of supply chain, there are enough IT tools that are available, ERP and all sorts of Wonder and one more IT tools are there which is creating visibility. So when you say methodology and visibility, can't relate the two words together.
Yes, sir, that's what I mean. That what are the different tools that exist and how can we leverage them going forward?
The visibility part.
Yeah, exactly. Like the different, like you mentioned, ERPs and IT systems. There must be something that is probably more effective than the other tools that exist. What, in your view, are some of the better tools?
Okay, see, all the, okay, I don't know whether I'm answering you, but whatever answer I know, I'll tell you and you tell me it's answered the question. All the tools that are there which will provide visibility, I'm saying there are enough technology advances which provide visibility, but that is not really the game changer. The game changer is it's like when the ERP came in, when if you ask companies who have implemented ERP, ask them that whenever that ERP vendor came and whatever he had promised in terms of, let's say, in supply chain, the lead times will go down, the on-time delivery will improve, your efficiencies will improve. Did it really happen? If you ask this question, I'm sure most of the companies would say actually the money went down the drain. That created a visibility, when financial accounting, inventory visibility, all that stuff is there. But these technology advances didn't really help the supply chain in terms of cutting down the lead time or improving service to the customers, because you have to question the business process part. Technology is just an enabler. If you just put in technology for visibility and not going to change the business process of planning and where the scheduling is happening and where the distribution happens, you don't change those things, fundamental inefficiencies that are there, you're not going to get the benefits. So I don't know whether I answered the question.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. I am Shomini Vishi from XIM MBA batch of 24-26. My question is for Mr. Birendra Kumar. Sir, you talked about past disruption strategies and everything. So I want to ask, how do we incorporate lessons from past disruptions into current strategies for operation management?
Right, so you're saying that how we can learn from the past experience to the upcoming event, right? Mostly these disruptions are totally unique, right? COVID came in a different manner, different fashion to us, and possibly, obviously, there will be some learning to it. But next wave of COVID will come, I'm not sure. But one thing which is very sure is that, like, I talked about the logistics cost, right? And what is the learning is, there is a government scheme which is called GPWIS, General Purpose Pattern Incentive Scheme. So the government has a scheme. If any party or any company they want to enroll it, they can go for it and they can have their own wagon, so that they can operate, right? So this possibly we have missed out. So that is one of the learning for the company, and what we are doing currently is we are leasing out GPWS pattern from other company on the lease at a higher cost. So if I could have enrolled with the government schemes maybe 2 years, 3 years back, possibly today, whatever rate shortages which is there in the circuit, I would have mitigated with a better cost, which today I am paying much more cost. So that would be one learning I would say from such kind of risk which has come. And the way we have mitigated is partially, but we could have done much more better. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Pratik Tripathi. I am from the XIM MBA BM batch of 2024-26. My question is to Pandit Prakash sir. Sir, how do you manage returns in the apparel industry as the return rate is around 15 to 20%? And how do you optimize the supply chain around it? And the follow-up question to that would be like, how do you manage if fake products are returned and like it is a threat? So how do you mitigate that risk?
Good question. And there is not, it's not very easy to answer how to handle returns. So let's look at the return supply chain from two perspectives, or consumer sentiments or consumer perception of retail in two perspectives. One is developed market and one is emerging market. So in developed market, at least till now, H&M has the policy. You can return wherever you want within 30 days. You can return, no question asked. Obviously, we ensure that visibly there is no bulk issues in the product with the customer is not highlighting. In developing market, it's still you can return, and in all this market you can return, say, accessories, intimate products. So to answer your question, I think the deeper question is that how do you segregate between a legitimate return and not so legitimate return? And it's not easy to find out a solution. When you are in a developing market, if I talk about e-commerce, you also want your consumer to use more and more online channels. So you want to give them some kind of leeway that okay, you can return it without any cost, you can return it, you can order multiple times and return multiple times. The reverse supply chain cost is extremely high in developed market, so you can still return but not multiple times. And then the reverse supply chain is extremely critical. I'm damn sure in India, when you are returning a product, the cost to the company is extremely high and they are taking a hit with the ambition that they will make lots of people to come to online platform in future and handle it. But as I see in future, we'll have cases where it will become a bit expensive to return products. If you look at Myntra as a platform, previously they used to refund everything. Now they don't refund the platform handling fee or something which they charge. That's not refundable. So slowly we will see a cost getting associated with that and slightly stricter policy. But I think this is a question. I think you would like to add something, right?
Maybe I can try and add a few things on that. The returns logistics is very different from the forward logistics. From the viewpoint of an e-commerce aggregator, we do take some validations, we do make some validations to check whether the return is legitimate or not. For example, there are things like tamper-proof packaging in order to see if there are two types of things. One is returns, which is the customer has accepted and then returned. Another is a reject. It was never delivered to the customer in the first place. Rejects are easy to maintain and to reconcile. You see that if packages has not been tampered with, it has just gone back to the customer, not received and came back. So it's mostly sure that it is still whatever was packed and it is the same. When we are talking about customer returns, there are several steps in between. First, the delivery partner checks it when they are picking up the shipment. It is then aggregated and then returned back to the source from where it came. By source, I mean the warehouse, but not necessarily the warehouse from where it has been shipped. Because you see, Amazon, depending on the availability of the product, it may decide to ship you a customer in Bhubaneswar from a warehouse in Delhi, if that item is available only in Delhi. But while returning it back, it will consolidate in a warehouse which is nearest to it in order to save on the logistics cost. There are dedicated return centers to do that. Again, if you have seen, recently many of the companies, I think Myntra has also started that, and Amazon is also experimenting with it. There's a tag provided into apparels and shoes, mainly the soft lines things. This is at a place where it is very visible, like maybe at the collar of a t-shirt or like in the outside part of the shoes. And there is a policy that is mentioned that the return will not be accepted if that seal is tampered with. It is because of the consumer behavior that we have seen in India a lot of times, that people do take or buy something, they will keep the tag on and they will hide it, and then for a particular function they'll use it and return it back. So since the entire industry was facing similar challenges, we are seeing similar kind of remediation efforts into this. So this is one of the things that has recently started. And then again, once it comes back to the warehouse, there are other check-ins that each of the associate will open the packet and then see whether it has been tampered or not. And then if it is okay, for example, if it is apparel, then they will repress it and then properly keep it back. marking it as sellable. If it is not, for example, in shoes, if there are marks of any mud items, and they will clean it. And if there is something which is not, it cannot be saved if it has been damaged beyond thing, then there is a network losses team. They will take care of all the losses which is happening. They will find out who is the person who should be responsible to when it has been damaged during the return handling by the warehouse, or was it the customer who was at fault, and how do we take it forward. So these are some of the ways in which return logistics is managed.
Good afternoon, speakers. My question is to Shailesh sir. As you talked about mono-client risk trap and how we should diversify from big clients. So my question is that bigger clients would have more bargaining power in this respect. So how do you manage these customer expectations?
You're talking about the smaller customers who are sort of neglected when you're focusing on one segment.
Yes, so you said that the more focus goes to the bigger customers, and they demand more because they have a more bargaining power. So how to manage their customer expectations of the bigger clients to reduce our efforts?
Okay. Okay, when I said whatever process or system that you need to put in place, it is not that you are trying to do something special for them. I said whatever supply chain system that the company has to deploy, it should work for all the customers. So if there is a bigger customer or a smaller customer, it should not make any difference. So there is the question of, let's say, for example, if it's a make-to-order company, and one of the key requirements of make-to-order customers are that I should take the order on time. So my on-time delivery is already, let's say, 99 plus. What more can he demand? He might demand on the pricing part. He might demand on the pricing that I wanted so much discount and all that. That is a call that the company has to take, in the sense that how much, what shall I say, how much bargaining power the company has with respect to if suppose this guy, let's say he's negotiating hard, and a point will come, the company might say, okay, let's forget this guy. But then are you in a position to, let's say, expand from the other customers? So that it's a very, very subjective call. You can't give an answer in 0 and 1. It all depends how much pricing point is. But I'm saying in terms of service levels, like say for example lead time, I need like Zara puts a lot of pressure on garment suppliers in terms of the lead time. They want their orders to be supplied in a very short lead time compared to, let's say, other fashion retailer. But then people put in processes for that, and the system delivers. As long as the system is taking care of all sort of customers, you're not putting any special emphasis, that should do. But all those arm twisting in terms of pricing people are doing, that's a very subjective thing. That how much thought is your pocket? Can you really kick him out, and then you're not bothered because there are so many other customers are in the queue. So.
Thank you, sir.
Due to paucity of time, we'll be taking last 4 questions.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sumedha Kulkarni from XIM MBA PM batch of 2024-26. So my question is to Shailesh sir, but if the whole panel can share their views, it will be great. The question is, in competitive world with limited funds, how to trade off between just-in-time economies of scales.
How to trade off between
Just-in-time and economies of scales.
How do you trade off between just-in-time and economies of scale?
Yes, sir.
But why are these two things, what's the relation between the two?
Sir, as we have limited funds, that's why the linkages between just-in-time and economies of scales.
I'm not able to understand. When you say just-in-time, why are you saying that like just in time is one part of the thing and economy of scale is the other part of the thing. Just in, I mean, why can't you have both? I'm not able to get you.
Sir, in just in time, even if you can share it, this both can be achieved even if we have limited funds. Like, what is your point of view on that?
Okay, fine. So whatever I can answer, I can give it. I was working in XIM, okay. So we had a tie-up with the Toyota, which to supply batteries to Toyota systems. And the month beginning itself, like this is September, right? So by 25th of August, I'll get all the JIT card, okay, where it will be written how much quantity is required and what time or which day it is required. And he had a special palletized system of schemes where we used to stamp their consignments or requirements and used to their vehicle will come from previous Hosur to us and then we would deliver it. So in terms of economy of scale and JIT, I'm not sure how you are connecting these two dots, but JIT is totally different concept and economy of scale will be slightly talked in some different referential terms. So if you're talking about JIT, that is the example I have given. Economy of scale is basically when you are trying to put in more volumes. You don't want to see about anything, any conceptual kind of thing. You're just going in terms of volume, right? And then you see at what volume level you're trying to achieve break-even point and then profits. So in that sense, possibly that works out. Otherwise, it is totally different from economy of scale. Yeah.
Okay.
I think if you are saying that, if it is in your mind that someone does JIT cannot do economy of scale, I'm assuming that something is very volumetric, right? Volumes are very high. You can still do both. That has nothing to do with that. JIT you're talking about a very, the lead time is so less. Let's say someone is supplying to, let's say a supplier is supplying to, let's say the OEM or any mix of company, and in a matter of so same day or whatever, in few hours and all that. But it's the scale can still be very high. It has nothing to do with JIT has to be done in smaller scale. It doesn't work that way. But most of the, I think in India, JIT is a very, a lot of companies claim that it is doable, but most of them don't. For example, in auto companies, auto OEMs, if you see, they will all claim they have done JIT, but all of them are actually forced the suppliers to keep inventory. So what JIT are you talking about? Yes, you are keeping very low inventory because the supplier is keeping inventory. You have pushed, you have pushed your whole your burden onto the supplier. He's like a cockroach, okay, let him really keep the inventory. And you say that you are doing JIT is a bullshit concept. They are not doing anything. But JIT, conceptually, JIT and economy scale can go together. I don't see any reason why it can't.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now we'll take one last question. So,
Wait a minute.
No, that's fine. Just to answer your question, it took some time to understand because you're talking about having less capital or less money and still doing economies of scale. So the way it will be done in industry that you negotiate on basis of bigger volume. So you get the benefit of bigger volume, but then you put your deliveries in a staggered manner. So you deliver X quantity after 1 month, Y quantity after 2 months, and Z quantity after 3 months. So that you don't pay out everything in a single go, but your negotiation is still based on that economies of scale. That's why I think we all were saying it can coexist.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Danish Sheikh and I'm from the XIM BM batch of 24-26. My question is for Shailesh, sir. Given your rich experience, I think you would have a better take on this. So, sir, looking ahead, what pivotal innovations or technological advancements do you see would play a major role in how companies manage and mitigate operational risk?
Your question is how technology technology advances will be helping in management consulting? That's what it is asking.
No, sir. In this particular operations disruptions.
The technology advances.
Yes, sir.
See, most of the types, if you remember, I talked about how do you improve your internal processes in terms of response time. So cutting down, what shall I say, cutting down the lead time to let's say manufacturing or procurement or distribution. This is going to help you respond faster to the market when you are faced with disruption. You can't predict disruption, but bouncing back quickly is the key. That means that internal lead times have to be short. But as far as how technology will help you cut down the lead time, frankly, I don't have very lot of examples. We are, we are not a very technology, what should I say, we don't love technology. In fact, this thinking is more on the other side. The technology has to solve a business problem. So I'll give you an example. For example, there's a company which we are working with, manufacturing these tractors, a forklift. If the technology advances are like they'll put a which is doing building, for example. But unfortunately, the robot is doing welding very efficiently, but a lot of time it is idle because for welding there are multiple parts that have to come together and you have to weld, right? It's an integration point in the work center. But you will find a lot of times all the parts are not available. So what is that technology going to do? You have to first set this process of that particular robot has to get the full kit, right? All the components together so that he can do his work. So a lot of time we are fancy with technology, but ultimately we are not looking at the business process side. Unless you solve the business problem, then only the technology will help. So you have to be careful. You just don't get fancied by there's some AI coming and ML coming and all these things will change the world. It doesn't. You have to ask a very fundamental question that how is this technology going to solve a business problem? Is it going to help me reduce the lead time? Is it going to help me reduce the inventory levels in the system? Is it going to improve the on-time delivery? Will it improve the make to stock company availability at my warehouses? All these fundamental questions you have to ask. If the technology is not going to do that, no way. Technology helps in a lot of transactional work and all that, that's okay. But is that really contributing to the lead time? A lot of times there are other issues that needs to be solved.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Now we would like to call upon our moderator for the event, Professor Samvit Rath sir, to present his concluding remark and deliver the vote of thanks.
So last 2 hours has been very insightful and informative. I hope at least 90% of you are not sleeping. So we learned a lot of things about supply chain disruption, how to mitigate it. In general, also specific to the industries like cement industry, fast fashion industry, and also e-commerce. So my main takeaway from these 2 hours of the talk was, first, even the bigger companies, the large companies can also face disruption with all the monies they have. Second thing is, just like first mile delivery, last mile delivery is also important and it is more prone to disruption. Then managing and then we also need to use technologies like delivery optimization and all to design or mitigate the supply chain disruptions. And quantitative analysis is as important as the qualitative analysis in the designing the supply chain disruption mitigation strategies. So thank you to all the speakers for their valuable insights and talk, and thanks to all the students for coming here. The number is more than the total number present here is more than the persons who have opted for operation selective. Thank you.
As a token of our gratitude, we would now like to honor our esteemed guest with a memento. I request our honorable guest to accept this memento as a token of our delight and respect. I request Sonal to present the memento to Mr. Shailesh Ranjan sir. Next, I'd like to call Abhinay to present the memento to Mr. Virendra Kumar Sir. Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to call Vanshika to present a memento to Ms. Swati Joshi ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now I'd like to request Vanshika to present a memento to Mr. Kanti Prakash sir. Now, I'd like to call upon Jay Lakhani for presenting a memento to Samit sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Team ALCOM, the Alumni Committee, to present the official T-shirt of XIM to our esteemed speakers.
Now, we would like to call upon XOPS coordinator Anshika Sharma to deliver the final vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. As we come to the close of Ashwamedh 2024, it is my honor to extend heartfelt gratitude to all those who made this event a resounding success. First and foremost, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to our esteemed speakers. Your insightful discussions and valuable perspectives have made this event truly enriching for all of us. We are immensely grateful for the time and effort you have invested in being part of Ashwamedh 2024. A special thanks to our moderator, Professor Ashwamedh, for steering the session and ensuring a smooth flow of conversation. Your guidance kept the discussions engaging and thought-provoking. To our respected professors and faculty members, thank you for your presence at today's event and also for unwavering support and encouragement. Your belief in initiatives like Ashwamedh continues to inspire us to raise the bar higher every year. A big thank you to the Career Advisory Services for their continuous guidance and collaboration, helping us make this event as impactful as possible for the students and other participants as well. To the Student Executive Council, your leadership and organizational support have been instrumental in making Ashwamedh 24 seamless and successful. I would also like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to the Alumni Committee for their invaluable support and for helping us strengthen the connection with our esteemed alumni, making Ashwamedh 24 even more enriching and impactful. A special shout out goes to Team Illuminatics and Team Excellence for ensuring the event's visibility and capturing every single moment, making sure the essence of Ashwamedh is well preserved and shared. And a heartfelt thanks to our core and shadow teams who work tirelessly behind the scenes. Your dedication, energy, and teamwork were the backbone of this event. None of this would have been possible without you. Lastly, for audience, thank you for your active participation, thoughtful questions, and enthusiasm throughout the event. Your presence has made Ashwamedh 2024 a memorable and impactful experience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vanshika. Now, I would like to request the students to remain seated as our guests take their seat.
So we'll see. I'll talk to him. Drop me a message. Oh, he's dropped you a message? No, because